Pirates Fire Dragon Roar Chapter 61-80. Chapter 61 Vlad and Ace. Shaggy's action was very fast, really fast. He didn't make the spade pirates wait long. Soon, the dishes were served one after another, and there were several tables full of them. The table is full. X23 US. The fastest com update has to be said. Shaggy is indeed a pirate predecessor decades ago. Even after retiring for so long, his hand speed is still touching. Ace is not bragging, his appetite is really not covered, even though Shaggy's movements are already fast, but compared to the speed of his eating, it is a bit dwarfed. His hands are not idle at all. Put them aside, the chopsticks, forks, and spoons are completely discarded, and they are just getting started. Even if their mouths are full, they will not give up, and all kinds of food are continuously stuffed into their mouths. Vlad looked a little funny from the side. Should he be the older brother of Monkey D. Luffy? The way of eating is basically in the same line, right? Roger and Garp don't eat dinner, right? Vlad slandered. This is very likely. You must know that Luffy is recognized as the most similar person to Roger, both in personality and appearance, and he is very similar to Roger when he was young. If Garp and Luffy are really similar, Vlad Rad will have some strange ideas again. The two are so similar, so it is normal for Roger to eat like this, right? No one could hear what Vlad said in his heart. The two of them sitting on the bar were completely ignored by the guys from the Spade Pirates. Should it be said that a newborn calf is not afraid of tigers? Hey, though it's often found. Deuce, who was at the other table, couldn't help sighing when he saw his captain eating, but this look is too embarrassing, isn't it? What nonsense are you talking about? Iska, who was sitting opposite him, knocked on the spoon and objected. Ace is free to eat what he wants. We are pirates, don't forget this. What is the use of other people's opinions to us? Oh. Deuce raised his eyebrows and tilted. Iska jokingly said, you are quite comfortable with the identity of a pirate, isn't it? Iska. Deus. Iska looked a little angry. Can't you stop your mouth with so much food? Sorry, Deuce apologized insincerely. After all, he's an old guy who has been in the business for a long time. Everyone has seen some things very well, even if it's a joke. It's Iska, you don't care, so why don't you go to Ace's table? Deuce smiled with great interest. Why don't you go to dinner with Ace? This. Iska is at a loss for words. What should I answer? Are you afraid that you won't be able to grab food at the table with Ace? After all, the food at that table is already very reluctant to serve Ace alone. If I go to the past, I may not even be able to drink a little soup, right? How could it be? How can anyone in the world eat so much? But I can't say it. How can I say it? How can such a thing be said? Seeing that Iska did not answer, Deus did not ask questions. After all, everyone knew the answer, so there was no need to ask any more. Crack. Ace, who was eating hot, suddenly fell on the plate of food without any warning, and lost his movement. PFF'd. Vlad, who had been watching, couldn't help but burst out in joy. Captain, on the other hand, Dino looked a little surprised. Is there an enemy? It's okay, chef. Vlad held back a smile and told his chef, just fell asleep. Asleep. As calm as Dino was startled. What does it mean to fall asleep? Do you really mean to fall asleep? The problem is that the guy was still eating just now. How could he fall asleep so fast? Oh, the captain is here again, said one of Ace's crew members who was sitting on the side. Is it a little late this time? Another person answered. Usually this time should have been turned down twice. Are you too hungry? Someone guessed. Is it because I haven't eaten for 2 days, so I need to supplement enough food before I can sleep peacefully? Makes sense. Someone agreed. Look, it's hard to fall asleep when you're hungry, right? The captain must be like that too. That's right. Oh, I seem to have fallen asleep accidentally again. Ace suddenly raised his head, just like when he fell asleep before, suddenly woke up again. as if he was already familiar with the setting that he would suddenly fall asleep, and continued to eat nonsense without caring at all. Hess, but Vlad on the side smiled the whole time. Soon, even if Ace could eat again, he was still full. After all, compared to Luffy's stretchable rubber man's rubber stomach, he was still far behind. Hiccup tilde. Very unstyled, Ace leaned on the chair and burped firmly, covering his big belly with satisfaction. Oops, is it finally over? Iska, who had been waiting on the side for a long time, sighed helplessly. Madam, settle the bill. As a girl, Iska took over the financial power of the ship as soon as she got on the ship. The crew members who came first did not have any opinions. After all, they were professionally trained, and they were still unclear with the captain. Relationship. Iskar is ready to bleed a lot. After all, according to Ace's food intake, it is basically impossible to save money. Okay, guest. Shaki walked over with a cigarette in his hand smiling. The corners of his mouth were smiling, the corners of his eyes were smiling, and even his eyelashes seemed to be smiling, obviously in a very happy state. Vlad knew that the show was coming. Guest, there are 38 million Baileys in total. Thank you for your patronage. Shaki's voice sounded very happy. 380,000 Baileys. Ah, sure enough, I knew it. Iska turned his head and glared at Ace, with a sharp tone. Can't you eat less? Ace, 380,000 Baileys. Arnold, Iska. Ace said cautiously. It doesn't seem to be 380,000 Baileys. Iska tilted her head, not knowing why. Guest, it's 38 million Baileys. Shaki repeats with a smile. Iskar blinked. Did I hear it wrong? Iskar asked himself. 38 million Baileys. Ace, you guy. With a collapsed expression on her face, the beautiful woman lifted her captain's collarless bead. What the hell did you eat? Ha 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 ha. Ace grinned without a trace of worry. Forget it. Ah, you bastard. Girl, collapsed. PFF'd ha 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 ha. The wild laughter came from one side, and Vlad couldn't bear it any longer, and laughed wildly. Hello, cook, do you see it? Vlad couldn't stand upright with laughter, put one hand on the chef's shoulder, pointed at Ace and the others, and laughed unbridled, looking at how stupid those guys are. It's really funny, it's not worth waiting for me to wait. It's been so long, ah. Well. Ace turned his head, and for the first time focused his attention on the man who had been sitting on the bar. All of a sudden, he met the smiling eyes that Vlad was looking at. Vlad and Ace, this is the first time they meet. Chapter 62. Your name. Mr. Captain, isn't that bad? Dino can't stand it. It's already unlucky enough, and you're adding fuel to the fire. Isn't this intentionally causing a conflict? But Vlad has always been a person of his own way. He has an extremely firm belief in what he wants to do. It is difficult for him to be shaken by the words of outsiders. This man is very stubborn. This description is very appropriate. Wow, haha, sorry. Vlad laughed loudly, and at the same time apologized perfunctorily to the members of the Spade Pirates. But I really can't help it, you guys. PFF'd ha ha ha. The expressions on your faces are so funny. Vlad liked Ace in his previous life. After all, Ace was undoubtedly a good person, a good brother, a good partner, and a poor person. But Vlad is not the kind of person who watched animation in his previous life and felt that he liked a character when he really came to this world in this life and would have a good relationship with that character. Just kidding, can an animated person be the same as a real person? In the previous life, the people Vlad admired most in the comics were Blackbeard and Akainu. Do you want to be friends with these two guys? What a joke. Vlad is a person who divides the two very openly. The previous life is the previous life. This life is this life. This is the truth he realized from the death of his father. Ha ha ha. Unexpectedly, the man named Portgas Ace was not angry, but rubbed his head and laughed in response to Vlad's almost mocking apology. It doesn't matter, I actually find it funny myself. After all, it's too funny to be able to eat 38 million Baileys in one meal. PFF'd ha 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 tilde. Before he finished speaking, the man started to laugh by himself, as if his experience was really funny. Vlad couldn't help but secretly praised, should he be said to be a man with the qualifications of a king. Not everyone can have such a broad mind. Sir, did you really say that you waited a long time? Mascud Deus put his hands around his chest and asked in this way. Well. Vlad pointed to himself in surprise, are you talking to me? That's right. Deuce didn't care about Vlad's offense, but his tone was very calm and calm. Did you just say that you waited for a long time? Yes, that's right. Vlad admitted simply and neatly, I was going to leave when you came in, but your arrival made me decide to stay and watch a good show. In other words, you know what's going to happen next. Sure enough. Shaki, who was unmoved, smoking on his own, and his tone turned cold. Madam, you really deceived us, right? What? Fraud. The girl Iska, who was dizzy and muttering to herself, was instantly revived with blood. Looking at Shaki's eyes, she wanted to choose someone to eat. For a woman like Miss Iska who values money, trying to get money out of her purse is really a pain in the ass. I said, even if Ace is a rice bucket, it is impossible to eat 38 million Baileys if he can eat it. Sure enough, you liar. By the way, did you all think that 38 million Baileys were eaten by Ace? Is this what your captain looks like in your mind? Chef Dino, who was standing on the side with no sense of presence, silently complained in his heart. What, did you know we'd be deceived? Ace is worthy of being Luffy's older brother, with a clear mind, ignoring Shaki who deceived them, and instead competed with Vlad. You are such a nuisance. Vlad has nothing to say. Is Ace still a stunner now? This man who has not been baptized by Whitebeard still has an inescapable darkness in his heart, which is very different from the warm-hearted brother 3 years later. Wu tilde. Slowly exhaled a puff of smoke. Shaki's tone was very understatement. She didn't feel nervous or guilty after the fraud was exposed. Instead, her tone was as if I lied to you. Don't get me wrong, kids, I never said that the price level here is the same as outside. The woman, who can't tell her real age from the outside vote, said, different restaurants have different prices. This is a normal thing. Normal bastard. Iska's face instantly turned into a shark's face. Vlad was amazed, never thought that someone in this world could have such Yanyi. As expected of the crew of the brother of the head of the Yanyi Tiantuan Straw Hat Corps, where is it normal? Is the price gap of several hundred times also called the normal price level? Stop talking to her, Iska. Deus's tone was cold and stern. After all, being deceived is not a pleasant experience. He didn't violently beat others. It was a reflection of his personal self-discipline. Such an arrogant guy is really rare. Let's go, there is no need to spend more time with her. Quote. Hey, is this going to eat the overlord meal? Vlad looked a little surprised, but it's no wonder that these guys are different from his prophetic man after all, and don't know who Shaki is, just like Shaki and Rayleigh don't know who Ace is. Think clearly, young people, this proprietress is not a simple character. All the guys who wanted to escape the order in the past all had nothing to do. Vlad reminded kindly. Hearing Vlad's words, Deus's eyes narrowed, knowing that what the man said was probably not a lie. Ace, stop playing tricks. Oops. Ace put the hat back on his head with one hand, with a confident look on his face. No, do you want to fight? I just finished eating, and I don't want to exercise. Crash. The vicious pirates stood up one by one with wanton smiles on their faces. Oh. Shaki looked very interested. Do you want to violently escape the bill? Children. No. We're just trying to get a fair price. Boom. The flames rose up, but this time it wasn't Vlad, but Ace. Orange flames emerged from his bare upper body, and the temperature in the bar instantly began to rise. However, it seems that only force can make you give us a fair deal. Quote. Logia. Shaki and Dino, who didn't know Ace's abilities, were a little surprised, and they knew where Ace's confidence came from. After all, Logia was rampant in the first half of the great route that Haki was missing. Oh, that's amazing. Shaki looked a little surprised. Is it Logia's burning fruit? It hasn't appeared in a few years. I didn't expect to be provoked by an amazing guy. Crack. Ace slapped a stack of money on the table and said softly, Madam, this is 300,000 yuan, which should be enough for our meal just now. Behind Ace's dashing is Iska's hand that keeps scratching his back. God knows, she is ready to default, we won't give any extra. Shaki nodded helplessly. Can I still resist? Your name? Ace said. What's your name? Chapter 63 Little Trouble. Me. Vlad was a little surprised, and asked himself, he didn't show anything great, he was just watching a play, he really didn't show himself at all, he was past the age of pretending to be everywhere, fighting in the sea. It's better to be low-key. After all, you should not be too arrogant until you have enough strength. Vlad. Vlad didn't mean anything to hide, it wasn't a big deal, Ferdinando Vlad. A nobody. Anonymous. Toothy Isho, I think I'll hear your name on the ocean soon. Ace, Hortgas D. Ace, that's my name. D. Vlad muttered to himself. There are naturally many mysteries in the world of One Piece, King of Pirates, such as the true face of the great secret treasure, the reason why Kaido is immortal, the reason why Blackbeard can bear two fruits, the true face of Pluto, the origin of the devil fruit, the truth hidden for 100 years, the reliance of Tenryubito. Of course, there is also the meaning of D. The D family is not joking about being the natural enemy of God. It is definitely not groundless. Luffy's defeat of Doflamingo may be a omen. At that time, there were two people who could defeat Heavenly Yaksha in Tokushima, Fujitora and Sabo. Neither is easy, but why did Luffy beat Doflamingo? Of course, if it is a comic, of course it is because Luffy is the protagonist, but now this world is a reality for Vlad. That is to say, does this represent something? Vlad didn't know that the sea is incomparably vast, and there are countless secrets hidden. It is precisely for these unknowns that men set sail to seek answers. So, Vlad, goodbye. Ace turned to look at Shaki and asked politely, Madam, can we go? Shaki raised his eyebrows, his tone uncertain, can I say no? Ha 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 ha. Ace laughed and walked out with the spade pirates. Hey, did you just let them go like this? Vlad sneered, the lady boss is a little bit beyond my expectations. As expected of Fire Fist Ace. Shaki walked to the table, reached out and picked up the stack of money that Ace put on the table. Whether it is strength or courage, the little guys of the same generation are far beyond the reach. Of course, this guy may be an exception. Shaki looked at Vlad calmly. Oh, so you know him, lady boss. Vlad was a little surprised. I thought you didn't know. What nonsense are you talking about, little brother? How can a pirate star like Fire Fist Ace, who is famous in the sea, not know him? Shaki looked very natural, and it seemed that he knew something about Ace. Ah ha ha ha. Vlad stood up with a smile. Yes, Madam Boss, you are an intelligence dealer. How could you not know about the now booming spade pirates? It's me who is stupid. Go away, cook. Vlad didn't ask why Shaki would still tease Ace's gang when he knew the identity of Ace's group. There was no need. These seniors were bored all day long and liked to see the potential of the juniors. Needless to say, Shaki must have wanted to test it out. The composition of Ace, it seems that Ace is caught in her eyes. Should it be said that it is Ace? Oh, little brother, won't you sit for a while? Shaki said softly, without the slightest sincerity in his tone, no doubt just polite. Forget it, I have a lot of things to do, and it was a waste to stay just now. Vlad turned his head and walked towards the door. Besides, there are some small troubles waiting for me outside. Dino tacitly followed. Dash 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 dash. Ace, is this guy waiting for us? Iska was a little surprised. He didn't expect that as soon as he left the tavern, A large group of people gathered in front of him and others, holding weapons in their hands and looking murderous. "Why, Iska, where did you get into trouble again?" Ace complained solemnly. "Look, everyone is looking for trouble." "Hey." Iska instantly turned into a shark, showing the power of Yan Yidaran. "How could it be me? No matter how much you think about it, it won't be me, right? What do you think?" "Really? Not Iska, so?" Ace turned to look at Deuce walking beside him. "Don't look, it's not me." Deus twitched the corners of his mouth and said solemnly, "Let's go, it's not for us." "Ah, how do you know?" Ace looked curious. "Please, Captain." They were a little nervous when they saw us coming out, but they relaxed right away, and they kept their eyes on the door of the bar. "How could it be aimed at us?" Deus was a little helpless. "Really? Ha 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 ha." Ace laughed. "You are really reliable, Deus." The group of people took care of themselves and passed through the encirclement of many ferocious guys. It is very strange that these guys who are not good people at first glance did not mean to provoke them, so they let them pass. Ace. Deuce was a little curious. Is there anything special about that guy just now? He wondered why Ace would care about a guy who didn't look so amazing. "I don't know." Ace's response was odd. Just simply thought he was an amazing guy. "Is that so?" Deus looked back at the guys around the bar. "That's no wonder." Dash 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 dash. "Are you sure you saw those two guys enter this bar with your own eyes?" Among the group of people surrounding the bar, the leader was a tall man with a large knife. The top of his smooth head was glowing with white light, and a long and narrow scar on his face extended from the corner of his right eye to his chin, making him look extra oozing. Man, he looked in the direction where the spade pirates left, and heaved a sigh of relief. "That's right, boss." It was no one else who stood in front of him very flatteringly. It was Vlad who wanted to touch porcelain before, and then Vlad gave a frightening exploding head in his eyes. Thinking of the man who looked like a demon, the exploding head was still a little bit. With lingering fears, my little brother saw them come into this bar with his own eyes. "Then just wait." The man known as the boss said solemnly. "Boss, why don't you just rush in?" Someone suggested. "Idiot, where do you think this is?" The bald-headed man slapped the short-eyed little brother and turned around a few times, with a bit of horror in his tone. "This bar is not an ordinary bar. In this Sabayati Island archipelago, anyone who comes here to make trouble, no one has ever appeared again." Quote. This. The younger brothers were stunned. Is this a forbidden place? So we'll just wait here. Bald Boss was a little proud. They will come out anyway. 2 billion Baileys, what a fortune. There was a greedy look on his bald face. Dash 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 dash. Hey, what a bunch of incompetent people. The door was opened, and Vlad walked out with the cook, looking down at a group of grotesque guys, and a word popped out of his mouth. "Cook, try your skills." Chapter 64 Bet. Vlad was not surprised. After all, the group of idiots outside didn't mean to hide their identities at all, and his observation hockey wasn't joking. Even idiots could see that something was wrong with a large group of people stuck outside. Since there is no idea of going to the Spade Pirates, there is no doubt that these idiots are here for themselves. After Vlad came out of the bar, he was even more certain. The afro head in the crowd with a dog leg-like appearance should not be too conspicuous, okay. Obviously, the few China-touching parties who were scared of their own urine before came to ask for trouble. Ahahaha, is that you? Among the crowd, the bald-headed man at the head touched his round and shiny head and came up. Looking at Vlad and the two, it was like seeing two big fat sheep, revealing unbridled greed. I heard that you made a small fortune, how is it? Is it too cautious to only care about making a fortune by yourself? Also give my brother a point, after all. With a wave of his bald-headed and stout arm, his face showed wanton publicity. I still have so many brothers to support. It will be very difficult if I don't have money. This brother, you don't want to watch my brothers starve, right? Quote. It's not easy to be shameless for this. This bald head is really powerful enough. What a disgusting guy. Hey, chef, just right. Vlad put his arms around his chest, turned his head to look at his chef, and said with a smile, try it, how about it? Try it, try your ability. I'm very curious, I'm really curious, these days. How far you can do it in time. Quote. Good. Dino's answer was very concise, which was in line with his usual personality, but for the first time his calm face was full of eager anticipation, which showed that he was also looking forward to his own abilities. After all, devil fruit's power is enormous for a person. Clap. Dino gently put a few boxes on the ground, twisted his neck, and stepped forward in 2 steps. Furui Wubo's eyes were lightly fixed on the bald head, who felt quite good about himself. Hey, bald, that's okay. Vlad in the back laughed loudly. I can fulfill your request, it's not a big deal to give you all of it. Really? The bald head was a little surprised, but he didn't expect this guy to be a bony head. When the younger brother came back and said that he was scared to pee by this man, he was still a little worried that the other party would be a strong man on the sea. After all, Sabayati Archipelago is the first half of the Great Route at the end of the segment. There are a lot of pirates who come here every day, and it is not surprising that there are a few rare powerhouses. But he couldn't overcome the temptation. Vlad was not carrying 1 or 200 million Baileys, but a full 2.5 billion. There was no doubt that it was the largest sum he had ever seen in his life. The huge temptation that is hard to resist, although his previous attitude was so arrogant, but to be honest, he is very empty. After all, his strength is not strong, and it is far worse than the strong ones among the pirates. For example, in the previous Fire Fist Ace, when watching the man walk out of the store, the bald boss almost sat on the ground. As a gangster in Sabayati Archipelago, the bald boss pays more attention to Pirate Nova than some Marines. After all, most of these guys are arrogant but powerful guys. Anyone who accidentally waits for himself is a dead word. So of course he also knows Fire Fist Ace, the most famous and powerful this year. However, fortunately, Fire Fist was not his goal. He was very fortunate that the other party was also not interested in him. While he was happy, he was inexplicably disappointed. However, this guy is different, his goals are different, he is not famous, the bald boss swears by his own head, whether it is the pirate of the pirate group or the pirate with a little reputation, he is clear, and the 2 men in front of them are definitely not among these guys. Brother, are you kidding me? The bald boss asked, be careful sailing the ship for 10,000 years, it's better to be careful in everything. That's right, it doesn't matter if I give it all to you. Vlad smiled, as long as you can defeat this partner of mine, it doesn't matter if you give all of this money, a total of 2.5 billion Baileys. Gudong. The bald boss couldn't help swallowing a mouthful of saliva, and the huge pie hit him on the head like this, and he really couldn't find any reason not to pick it up. Then it's settled. The bald boss had a face full of greed and ambition. Little ones. Go on. Although he shouted, go, 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 the bald boss himself took a few steps back. Although he looked rough, he was actually a person who made plans and then moved. Since the other party dared to gamble so much, this shows that this handsome guy with aristocratic demeanor in front of him may not be so easy to settle. Before seeing the reality of the other party, let the younger brothers go to the bottom. I have to say that it is not easy for someone who can be a big brother. That kind of brainless a guy may not be able to stay on this island for a long time. The bald boss can stay in Sabayati Archipelago for so long. At the place. Come on. Hack him. Kill. With such a voice, the grotesque figures behind the bald boss pulled out their knives, raised their muskets, shouted, roared, and rushed towards Dino fiercely. Tisk tisk. Vlad was a little blind. These hideous-looking guys really have some hot eyes. Just let me see. The bald boss was in the crowd, his eyes fixed on Dino, the biggest obstacle to his own wealth. He must see the details of this man. What kind of patience do you have? Dino was very calm, even though the strange guys had already rushed in front of him. Die, This kind of sound is really strange. A tall little gangster has rushed to Dino with a knife in his hand. The knife in his hand is held high, and there is a bloodthirsty sneer on his face. The condition is to defeat Dino, but defeating also includes killing, right? It's okay to die, right? At most, send the other guy down there to reunite with him. It's not just this little bastard, everyone including the bald boss thinks this way. After all, this era is not stable, and as many people die, a few people die. Roaring in his mouth, the little gangster was looking forward to the scene of blood splashing down below, but just as his knife was about to swing down, a sudden change occurred, his feet suddenly slipped, and the whole person instantly fell to the ground. PFF'd. It wasn't a very dull sound, because he didn't fall to the ground, but in a pool of viscous liquid. Oops. So slippery. Look, what is this on the ground? Accompanied by such a voice, the gangsters who had rushed up unscrupulously fell to the ground one after another. Except for the bald boss hiding behind, none of them could stand up. This is. The bald boss was stunned, looked at the younger brothers lying on the ground, and said with difficulty, "What?" "It's oil." Dino's two drooping hands still dripped with liquid, and his tone was very calm, "Lubricating oil. Mobile phone users, please visit Reading, a better reading experience. Chapter 65 Oil Fruit. It's oil, lube. Dino's voice was low and powerful, and the bald boss was not far away. Of course, he could hear it all. Lube, don't you? Bald boss's eyes suddenly widened. Is it a devil fruit? Are you a power person? That's right. Dino is very polite, and he is completely different from Vlad. He always looks very cultivated. It doesn't look like he came from a small family. Vlad didn't ask Dino. Dino didn't say anything about the origin of the story. On the sea, everyone has some secrets more or less. It would be boring if they were too serious. Although it didn't take long for me to get the power, I am indeed a devil fruit power user. Dino said honestly. 2 days ago, Vlad asked Dino to choose a devil fruit to eat. Dino was not polite. He immediately took one and took a sip. In Vlad's gloating eyes, this man was meticulous and handsome. The man almost spit out his stomach. In Dino's own words, the existence of devil fruit is an insult to the profession of chef. Logia, which has the highest starting point every second. Nor Zone, who has thick skin and amazing brute force. But Paramesha, the most special and magical type. Paramesha, oil fruit. This is the name of the fruit Dino ate. As the name suggests, it is the ability to turn the eater into oil. How do you say it? I don't know if this fruit should be described as strong or not, but that's how it feels. It's far better than the retrograde fruit, the slow fruit, and the childlike fruit. But it seems to be better than rubber, glutinous rice, etc. Cookies and the like are going to be stronger. How to say? It mainly depends on the person. Mainly depends on the development. The strength of the eater is the decisive factor for the strength of the devil fruit. Oops. The little gangster tried to stand up, but after Dino's lubricating oil infiltrated the ground was extremely slippery, and it would slide out far away with a little movement. Vlad saw several guys who were reluctant to perform one-word horses, that one. The grinning look made Vlad want to laugh. Damn. No, it's too slippery to get up. This is not an ordinary lube, this is the ability of a capable person. It's not on the same level as ordinary lube. Don't move around, idiots, climb out slowly by yourself. Bald Boss is worthy of being an old gangster who has been messing with Sabayati Archipelago for a long time. He soon saw the defect of Dino's lubricant. Indeed, as long as you lie on the ground and increase the area of contact with the ground, it will still slip, but after all it won't hurt much. The Bald Boss looked gloomy and uncertain as his subordinates, whose noses were bruised and swollen, crawled out of the lubricating area one by one, thinking quickly in his heart. Brother, we admit defeat. Contrary to Vlad's expectations, the Bald Boss chose to admit defeat. Although Dino did not show any irresistible power, the bald boss directly chose to admit defeat. What should I say, timid or wise? In fact, no wonder the bald boss. In the first half of the Great Route, hockey is extremely scarce, and there are not many strong fighting techniques. In Paradise, most of the strong people are devil fruit ability, and there are few famous pirates who do not have it. Devil fruit, it can be said that in Paradise, devil fruit is almost a sign of the strong. As long as it is not too wasteful, the eater will not be too weak. The bald boss knows this too well, so he already wants to withdraw. As the saying goes, if the green hills are there, he will not worry about no firewood. Although money is very important, there is no doubt that his life is more important. Admit defeat. Vlad shook his head, a little puzzled. What do you mean? Of course we lost. Bald boss smiled. We don't want the money anymore, we'll leave now, of course. If the brothers are not satisfied, we can also compensate you additionally, as much as you want. I have to say that this bald guy is indeed a character, able to bend and stretch, and knows how to run when he sees the situation is wrong. Just this is better than those idiots who only know how to be reckless. But Vlad was not a man of reason. Go. Vlad frowned. What are you kidding? Where do you want to go? I remember I already said that as long as you beat the chef, I'll give you all the money. Do you think I'm joking? No, the bald boss laughed. It's just that we feel that our strength is not enough, and we will definitely not be able to beat your partner, so we choose to admit defeat. Looks like you still haven't figured out what I mean. Vlad took a step forward. His eyes had turned into golden pupils. The narrow pupils looked extremely penetrating. Either defeat my partner, or I'll die here. Why don't you understand such a simple truth? Idiots. The wild aura roared out, pressing towards the gangsters in front of Vlad. Long way, this is the majesty of a giant dragon. Ah! The shrill screams that were almost howling resounded in the sky. Vlad didn't exert any strength at all. These guys were not worth his strength, but even if it was just a small test, in a flash, these little gangsters had collapsed and all sat on the ground. There was boundless terror and extreme terror in his eyes. I know, I already know. Please forgive me. It was the bald-headed brother who shouted in a voice that was almost roaring. Under the impact of Vlad's terrifying dragon power, the old gangster finally understood a truth. That is, the lives of himself and others were no longer in his hands. In the hands of others, that man has the power to easily kill himself and others. If he disobeys, there is only death. There is only one way. There is no other choice in front of him. Isn't that nice? Vlad's pupils returned to their usual blackness, and Longway closed it as soon as he put it down. If he put it down, these guys would probably pass out, and maybe a few vegetative people would be born. Vlad smiled brightly. Then let's continue. Woo ha 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 ha, Bailey's battle, I will be the referee, the winner has everything, the loser is out. Is there no objection? Yeah. Dino nodded. How could he possibly have any objections? He still had some experience with the abuse of vegetables. Yes. The bald boss stood up with difficulty, with sweat all over his head, face, and back. Vlad had put too much pressure on them before. He licked his lips tremblingly, and the bald boss clenched his hands tightly. Knife. Although it is very likely that you will not win, although it is very likely that resistance is futile, although it is very likely that you are just the object of the other party's fun. However, I don't want to die, I haven't lived enough, and the bald boss doesn't want to die. Ah! Roaring like this, the bald boss rushed towards Dino, who was standing calmly. His eyes were frantic and persistent, and behind him were a group of gangsters with the same crazy eyes. In one's life, there will always be times when one has to work hard. Chapter 66_Abuse and Seniors. How do you feel? Vlad squatted on the ground and watched the chef abuse the vegetables with interest. X23 US. Com updates fastest. Well, what do you say? Dino Vivi turned his head, dodged a bullet that was directly aimed at his head, and with a wave of his right hand, a viscous liquid splashed out, and instantly a long knife in a grim-faced hand was aimed straight at him. The punk parcel chopped off his shoulders. Well, maybe it's because the development isn't enough. Under the siege of dozens of gangsters, Dino still looked at ease. In the face of an enemy dozens of times his own, this man was always able to easily dodge a knife that was slashed towards him. A long knife can always dodge deadly bullets with ease. Hockey's role is to cheat like this. This man, Dino, is undoubtedly not an outdated combat power even if it is placed in the new world. It is indeed overkill to bully these gangsters here. I always feel that it is not very easy to use. Dino said so, but there was no sign of inconvenience in his hand. With a flick of his hand, a large white mass of white substance with a strong sweet fragrance flew out of his hand. With majestic strength, in an instant, it hit a group of people again. Sweet cream. Dino named this trick so. Although it is soft, the amount is not a joke, and coupled with the amazing speed, it can be regarded as a very useful trick. Ah, so sweet. One of the smashed gangsters showed no pain at all. He covered his face with both hands, his eyes were filled with peach hearts, and his expression looked extremely happy. So happy. His companion, the other gangster who was smashed, also had a happy face, with an unstoppable red tide on his face. Desserts can bring happiness to people. The chef Dino said, the so-called cooking is with the heart, this is my cooking method. Thanks for tasting. Poor hospitality. Quote. Vlad's Adam's apple clearly rolled up and down, and there was an obvious desire in his eyes, which was the most real desire for beautiful things. Awesome, this fruit is awesome. Vlad thought this way. I really want it. Why did you eat a dragon fruit on a whim? Isn't this fruit very good? Why couldn't you just wait? Impossible, it's impossible, how is this possible? I tried to touch the explosive heads of the two Vlads before, but at this moment, I was a little bit broken and grabbed the hair from my own head, with an incredible look on his face. How is this possible? How is it possible for us? You can beat such a monster. Why, didn't it take a long time to eat the fruit? Why is it so strong? The explosive head collapsed, completely useless, no matter how many people rushed up, no matter how many knives were swung, no matter how many shots were fired, it was completely useless, not to mention hurting the man, even asking him to be serious can't do it. So, does such a battle really make sense? What are you still doing? The panting bald boss found it very difficult to stand even with his knife in hand, but he still slapped the back of the explosive head like he was taking a break and scolded. Do you really want to die? Chefs are so strong. At this point, you can imagine how strong that man is. Do you really want to die? I see. Reluctantly, he gritted his teeth, remembering the horror of the man before. His arm that was already weak regained strength, raised his long knife and rushed forward. PFF'd. What awaited him was a dollop of cream. I'm so happy. Wrapped in a white explosive head, he was as happy as a 200-pound child, and even had an innocent smile on his face. Am I the only one left? The bald boss looked around, his younger brothers lay sparsely on the ground, and he was the only one standing. Well, you're the last one. Dino looked at the man who was knocked down several times by himself and still stood up, with rare interest, and asked, even if it's just you, do you still want to continue fighting? No way. The bald boss's body is a little sturdy, and the hand holding the knife is shaking, but his tone is as firm as his eyes. If I could run, I would have run away. The problem is, don't fight. It's only death. The bald boss rushed up, but the speed was not fast. After all, he was just an ordinary person who had undergone a little training. He was not systematic, and his physical strength was just like that. Compared with Dino, who had a not weak hockey, it was a world of difference. Fine, then, in response to your determination, let's take a look, another trick. Dino said, I still have trouble with this trick. Yellow things poured out from his body, gradually condensed, and gradually gathered behind him, and a huge figure emerged behind him. This is. The bald boss's eyes widened, and the long knife in his hand fell to the ground unconsciously. What is this? Sturdy butter, oil giant. Quote. Dash 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 dash. Is it done? Vlad stood up and looked at Dino with some jealousy. Yeah. Being stared at by Vlad's strange eyes, Dino was a little confused, so he didn't understand what his captain meant. Did you go a little too far? Dino asked. Are you okay? Vlad looked at the gangsters who fell to the ground, either in a coma, or in the cream and still looking happy. It was okay, not too cruel. After all, these guys are seriously injured at most. According to the monster constitution of people in this world, it is not difficult to recover, and those who are lying in the cream and refuse to get up are completely harmless. Except for this one, he focused on the bald boss who was completely distorted, with more air in and out less. It's just that I thought you would let this bald head water. I think you appreciate him quite a bit. It is because of admiration that I will use the strongest tactics I have developed to deal with him. Dino's voice sounded firm, and he didn't feel that he was doing anything wrong. This is respect for the enemy. Well, as long as you're happy. Vlad can only respond like this. Well. Vlad turned sharply, but saw nothing. What's wrong? Dino asked. Nothing. Vlad grinned isho, picked up the box on the ground, turned his head and said to Dino, Go back, chef, the purpose has been achieved, there is no need to stop. Yeah. Dino didn't say much. Dash 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 dash. It's amazing. In the bar, a man pushed open the door, with white hair, a scar on his right eye, and a pair of glasses on his eyes. Not only did it not give him a three-pointed bookish atmosphere, but his wise and steady eyes gave him an out-of-thin-air kind of hockey. Oh, are you there? Shaki, who was sitting quietly behind the counter smoking a cigarette, looked a little surprised. Rayleigh. Chapter 67 Rayleigh and Obstruction. It has been nearly 20 years since the opening of the Great Voyage Age. Ever since Gul D. Roger Logatown's earth-shattering words, the sea has become more chaotic than ever before, and men rushed to the sea. The real era of heroes has finally arrived. Gul D. Roger, known by later pirates as One Piece, King of Pirates, has everything, wealth, power, fame, and, true, without a doubt, Roger already knows everything in the world. He is true the man who knew the truth, so he chose to surrender, because he knew that the power of freedom is not enough, the people who yearn for freedom are not enough, and the heart of freedom is not enough. So he chose death, and with a few words, he opened the magnificent era of great pirates, and the world ushered in an unprecedented wave of freedom. You must know that the world government has never been afraid of pirates, but free will. Even if the pirates are the four emperors, they will not attack the government under normal circumstances. The enemies of the pirates are only the pirates after all. The regiment attacking the government is nothing more than delivering food. However, the only free will is different. The world government has spent 800 years consolidating its own rule. 20 years after the opening of the Great Pirates era, a free army like the Revolutionary Army has already appeared. God knows what will happen in the future. What? One Piece King of Pirates who knows everything is dead, but his comrades are alive, and the most famous legends of the sea are still alive. There is no doubt that although retired, these once the guys who followed One Piece, King of Pirates to greatness still exist on this ocean. Pluto Rayleigh, a character that is bound to be mentioned when it comes to Roger, the right hand of One Piece, King of Pirates, the deputy captain of the Roger Pirates, has been retired for nearly 20 years. Where are you, Rayleigh? Shaki was a little surprised to see Rayleigh appear. After all, that guy just came for this man. No, just got back. Rayleigh walked to the bar on his own, picked up a bottle of wine and filled it up. That's a pity. Shaki said with great interest. Just now, a few interesting little guys came. Ah, I see. Rayleigh wiped his mouth and smiled. I've seen it all, whether it's Fire Fist Ace or the guy just now, I've seen it all. Oh. Shaki raised his eyebrows. Then it was a coincidence that you came back. Ha 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 ha. Rayleigh laughed. Everyone's meeting is not an accident, Shaki, it's an accident in your opinion, but it's not necessarily that we are destined to meet them here. Really? Shaki was a little surprised. This is not like you. Is there anything special about those two little guys? Special. Rayleigh said with a smile. Shaki, everyone is special, no one is the same as everyone else. Hollow up pointing triangle Wong www. I mean, did they have anything worth your attention? Shaki flicked the soot, a little helpless in his tone. Ha 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 ha, who knows? Rayleigh replied, it's life to be overwhelmed, Shaki. As you like. Shaki smiled, she still knew this man very well, and he would never say anything he didn't want to say. Of course, she wasn't interested in this either. Shaki, it's only when I see these young people that I feel that the era that Roger was looking forward to may really have come. Rayleigh was drinking when he said this out of the blue. What's the matter with you, old man? The black-haired woman replied. Rayleigh froze for a moment, then laughed. Ahahahaha, yes, Shaki, that's right, my time has passed, and now it's the time of these young people. After all, just an old man. Even if they are as strong as Whitebeard Newgate, Golden Lion Shaki, Red Earl Redfield, Garp the Fist, Sengoku the Buddha or Hades Rayleigh, they are already veterans of the previous era. After all, new waves will create new heroes. The waves are flattening, and the waves are rising again. This is the way the sea is. But that little guy is really amazing. Rayleigh thought silently in his heart that compared to him, Firefist was a bit far behind. Is it him? Will you be waiting for him? My old friend. Oh Roger. Dash 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 dash. Is this our ship? Dino asked in confusion. He really didn't understand it. It wasn't that the boat was too luxurious, not at all. On the contrary, the boat was too crude. It was a caravel sailboat, with a skeleton structure and jibs all using the stern center rudder method. The black pirate flag hangs on the mast. The boat is very small. It is estimated that there are about 10 people on the boat. It will feel very crowded. It is really small. Dino doesn't understand. Didn't more than 2 billion Bailey be credited in the first 2 days? Why buy such a small boat? Maybe the officers didn't have any intuitive understanding. Let's put it this way. This ship is similar in size and structure to the Going Merry of the Straw Hat Pirates 3 years later, not to mention that the New World is the best in paradise. Shabby pirate ship. Is it so cut? Dino was lost and had no idea what his captain was thinking. Baby 5, who has always been unforgiving, didn't interrupt. She honestly carried her luggage and stood on the side without interrupting. She has experienced the devastation of Vlad in the past few days. Learn to be nice. Woo ha 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 ha. Never mind, chef. Vlad patted the chef on the shoulder condescendingly and laughed. This ship is a transitional ship. The shipbuilders of Sabayati Archipelago are not very good. There is no good ship here. Well, Captain, what do you mean? Dino understood a little. Let's go to the capital of Seven Waters first, where the boatmen are famous all over the sea. Vlad said, get another good ship there. As for this one, it's enough to carry us. Understood. Dino expressed his understanding that a transitional ship is indeed not too good. Then let's go, the two of you. The repairs have been done at Sabayati Archipelago these days, and it's ready to sail. Vlad said with a smile. Next stop, the capital of Seven Waters. Yes, Captain. Only Chef Dino responded, and the maid did not reply. Well, what's the matter? Maid, you're going to set sail. Be happy. Vlad said so. Oh. Baby 5 looks a little weak. It seems that she has been overtrained recently, which makes this woman a little bit overwhelmed. Yes, this woman's constitution is still a little bit worse than those monsters. However, the result's still very pleasing. Then, get out. Vlad's words were not finished. Stop, stand still and don't move. Pirates. Chapter 68 Going to Sea, the beginning of a legend. Stop, don't move, pirates. Such a voice came from Vlad's back. Hey, don't, I just wanted to make a rhetoric. Vlad turned his head in annoyance. His eyes were filled with irritability after being disturbed by someone. Aren't you guys able to see at all? That's it, pirates. Needless to say, those who can speak in such a tone and who can say such words, their identity is naturally very clear, and there is no need for doubts. Marine, a group of Marines surrounded him, Marine with live ammunition, his long knife unsheathed, his musket tightly held in his hand, his face was solemn and cold. Marine general wearing a justice cloak. Inside is a white suit with a mustache raised, short black hair standing upside down, a chilling expression on his cold face, and a hand raised. He was holding a long sword, and the cold light flickered on the long sword that was already unsheathed. That's it. Pirates, your voyage ends here. The Marine General said so. Mr. Captain, it's Marine. Chef Dino said so. I see it. Vlad replied angrily, who couldn't tell that they were Marine. Then, Gentleman Marine. Vlad raised his eyebrows and said with a smile, are you trying to stop me? Although it is a pirate flag that I have never seen before, and although it is also a pirate I have never seen before, maybe you are just a new pirate group just preparing to go to sea, but... Marine officer's hand waved in front of him, and his tone was sober, just hanging the pirate flag is already an unforgivable sin. Let me, Marine Headquarters Rear Admiral, Lord Jack, punish you. The man roared like this, looking at Vlad as if he was looking at some enemy of life and death, with murderousness flashing in his eyes. Scoff tilde. A light sound, Marine named Jack stepped heavily on the ground, and his body was ejected like a phantom. The long knife in his hand was tightly held, and he slashed towards Vlad's neck. There is no hand in the slightest, this Marine has no hand in the slightest, even if he has not seen Vlad's flag, even if he has not seen Vlad's appearance, even if Vlad has no bounty, even if Vlad maybe it's just a rookie pirate, even if such a person can't die, but this Marine still shot with all his strength without hesitation. Marine will not kill pirates in many cases. After all, impel down is not a decoration. Rather than killing the pirates directly, it may be a more relieved choice to let them suffer in the underwater prison. However, this man named Jack, it's different, it's completely different, there is no intention to capture Vlad and his party at all, and they directly kill him. Although you may also have a story, but... Vlad stretched out a finger, that's not a reason for you to be presumptuous in front of me. When the crisp sound spread out, and in exchange was a group of Marines' dull eyes. What? No way. How is this possible? That's Jack Rear Admiral, that wine sword Jack Rear Admiral. That man, who the hell is that man? Such voices kept coming from the Marines' camp. The faces of the Marines were pale, and the weapons in their hands had a feeling that they could not hold tightly. It was not that they were timid, but that the current situation was really too much. Amazing. Hockey. You bastard. It wasn't just the Marines who were terrified. Jack Rear Admiral, who was respected by Marine, also looked like he had seen a ghost. An ominous foreboding lingered in his heart. This kind of intensity is definitely not what should appear in the paradise. I said, are you too confident? Vlad said so. One of his outstretched fingers was pitch black, hardened by armament. A long knife pressed firmly against the finger, and the long knife kept shaking. It was obvious that the owner of the knife was still exerting force, but it was useless, completely useless. The small finger was like a mote, not at all. This knife can shake. Although your name is Jack, you are still quite different from that Jack. Vlad raised his foot and kicked forward heavily. Bang! Like a volcanic eruption, a terrifying force erupted in an instant. Jack's body couldn't resist at all. He was directly blown away by Vlad's powerful kick and crashed directly into a warehouse in the port, losing his voice. If you want to attack us, you must at least find an admiral. Vlad tilted his head and said softly, "A little rear admiral looks down on us too much." Vlad was very annoyed. He was disturbed by such a small fish, Marine, after a good sailing speech. He was really angry. "Did you knock down Jack Rear Admiral, who is known as the Swordsman of the Wind, with just one blow?" "Monster, this guy, a monster. Is this kind of pirate really the pirate that should appear in the first half of the Great Route?" Jack was knocked down by Vlad, and the remaining Marines were blinded. After all, the opponent's strength was astonishing, far from being able to defend against his own small arms and calves. "Stop. Ahem, idiots." Some weak voices came from behind. A figure gradually appeared in the dust. Jack staggered and walked out again. Blood was constantly coming out of his mouth, but his tone was far more than that of his body. "Resolute. Don't let the justice behind you be ashamed. Oh, do you still have consciousness after being kicked by me?" "That's right, Marine. Vlad said so." "Captain, deal with them." On the other hand, the maid came up and asked Vlad softly. After a period of training, this woman finally learned how to show respect. "No." Vlad turned his head and walked towards his ship. "This guy named Jack is quite interesting. Let him be a witness to watch us sail." Vlad said so. "Captain, you are really bad fun." Dino exclaimed. "Let Marine witness us sailing." "It's quite interesting," said the chef. "Ah ha ha ha." Vlad strode onto the small pirate ship and laughed wildly. "Little ones, ready to sail." HMPH, I can't wait. Maid Baby 5 has a rare good face, with a faint smile on her face. She is not stupid. Vlad and Heavenly Yaksh are the same guy, although violent and bad temper. But there is no doubt that it is true it looks awkward, but Baby 5 enjoys it. There is no doubt about it. Ha ha. Chefs who have always been light and cloudless are also rarely seen laughing. This is really a memorable day. Then, Fire Dragon Pirates. Sail out. Vlad shouted so. Damn. Jack couldn't support his body any longer, fell to the ground, and had no choice but to watch the little pirate ship set sail. "Hey, Marine, remember, it's today." There was a loud shout from the ship. The voice said. "Give me a good memory, just today." Legend. It's on. Chapter 69 The Next Step and the Catastrophe of the Pond Fish. The small pirate ship gradually left the port. This newly established pirate group, an ultra-small pirate group with only 3 people, the Fire Dragon Pirates set off like this, and gradually began to head towards the open sea. Woo ha 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 ha. At last the day has come. Vlad stood on the bow of the boat, looking at the blue sea and laughing. It has been nearly half a year since he left the Charlotte family. Although things happened too suddenly, he suddenly heard the news of the marriage. The hasty decision to defect disrupted his plans. But looking at the results now, the results are not bad. Although he didn't wait for the fruit he wanted the most, the ability of the other dragon fruit is not weak, and it is far more suitable for his fighting style than that fruit. No matter how you think about it, you will earn it, Vlad thinks so. For now, Vlad is very satisfied. His strength has reached a bottleneck. After Mariajoy, both hockey and fruit abilities have improved. If you want to make a huge leap, you need Fruit Awakening or hockey. Evolved again, but no matter which one is a very difficult thing. The Fruit Awakening itself is a rare thing, not to mention that Vlad has only obtained the dragon fruit for about half a year. It is already very powerful to be able to go further after Mariajoy, and it is still far from awakening. As for hockey, it is even more difficult. Only by constantly challenging powerful enemies and constantly fighting with those monsters can hockey play to the greatest extent and realize hockey's evolution. However, the problem is that now Vlad's strength has reached a very strong point. There are too few people in the sea who can give him such a fight, and there are not many people who can make him fall into a hard fight. Maybe Tenryubito, there are some lesser-known masters out there, but let him make another Mariajoy. Just kidding, Tenryubito is really going crazy. The remaining masters can really put little pressure on Vlad between life and death. Of course, the 4 Emperors Admiral, needless to say, these monsters cannot be defeated by the current Vlad. As long as Vlad is not afraid of death, go to the madman Kaido, the battle of life and death will come soon, but, is this really looking for death? Vlad doesn't want to die yet, and apart from the T1 level masters like the Four Emperors Admiral, the rest are the second in command of the Four Emperors pirates like Marco and Katakuri. Vlad doesn't say that he can defeat them now, but he does. It's not something that can't be done, but people are not lonely like Vlad, and pirates don't pay attention to one-on-one. Not to mention Marine, the backup admiral is undoubtedly a master at this level, but is Vlad going to Marineford to fight them? Then surrounded by 3 Admiral and Sengoku Garp. Courting death is not like that. In a word, these people are not something that Vlad can easily provoke. On the sea, the strength of an individual is not absolute, and power is also an important factor. Otherwise, why does Hawkeye have the same strength as the Red Hair? Just as Shichibukai, the strength of the subordinates is also huge, and the strength of the 4 emperors is not only based on their individual strength. Even the strongest Whitebeard can't conquer the world. The gap between the T1 level powerhouses is already very small. Whitebeard and Kaido, who are not sick, may be able to defeat the other 4 emperors Admiral, but it is not easy. No, serious injury is unavoidable. The horror of the 4 emperors is that they have the most terrifying individual strength in the sea, and also have a large number of equally powerful subordinates. These guys are not dependent on the 4 emperors. The vice admirals of Marine are facing these when senior cadres are very powerless. Vlad knew that it would be very difficult for him to go further in strength in a short period of time, so his main goal now is to recruit some powerful partners. Otherwise, with the 2 guys on board, why would he still be on board? To fight those monsters. What else to say to fight for the throne of One Piece, King of Pirates? As strong as Guldy Roger, who also has underlings like Rayleigh and Spark Gabon, otherwise he may not be able to become One Piece, King of Pirates, no matter how strong he is, and Marine's pursuit may not be able to survive. Vlad already has a preliminary plan, and he also has a few suitable partner candidates in his heart. They are definitely the ones who have no shortage of strength and potential, and there is still a lot of room for development in the future. I am really looking forward to it. Vlad smiled. I am really looking forward to competing with those monsters. Hey, Captain, there's something going on over there. The chef's calm voice came from above. Due to the lack of manpower, he is now playing the role of a lookout, just like a maid guest helmsman. There is no way, there are only 3 people on board, except for insisting that he is the captain. Vlad, who is willing to do things by himself, is really stretched. Vlad raised his head curiously. What's the matter? Sea battle. The chef's voice was a little surprised. On one side is Marine's warships. Wow, 5 or 6 large warships, what a big battle. What about the other side? Vlad became interested. Forget it, I'll come and see it myself. Vlad jumped, and it wasn't a dent in the sturdy deck. Vlad catapulted to start, jumped up gently, and landed on the mast dexterously. His dark pupils instantly turned into golden vertical piercings. Hitomi, the distant scene gradually became clear. Oh, that's heroic. Is there just a ship on the other side? A pirate ship, but... Vlad was a little puzzled. The pirate flag on that pirate ship looks familiar. Captain, it's Spades. The cook had binoculars on his eyes, and he didn't have Vlad's eyesight. Spades. Fire Fist. Vlad was a little strange. Why did Marine go to the trouble of Spades in such a big fight? Captain, are you going to help? The cook asked. What nonsense. Everyone has his own adventure. Vlad smiled. If he just died here, it just means that he is nothing more than that. Understood. Dash 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 dash. Just like Vlad didn't know why Marine came to trouble Ace on a large scale, Ace, who was the client, also didn't know what was going on. Just had a film yesterday, and Ace was about to take the opportunity to enter the new world. Then I went to challenge that man, but I didn't expect to meet the Marine fleet of the brigade just after sailing. What is this doing? Why would Marine Vice Admiral go after those big guys and come to trouble me as a little guy? Ace stared at the man opposite and was very jealous, but his tone was still very relaxed. This is by nature. Some people can laugh out loud even in the face of death. Little guy. Fire Fist Ace is not a little guy who doesn't need anything. Wearing a helmet engraved with a two-headed dragon pattern, Marine Vice Admiral with a very ferocious expression has a flat tone, and the 6 spider-like feet behind him each hold a knife. It's not a small person who can qualify as Shichibukai, but since you have refused, we can't let you move on. Ha 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 ha, isn't it? Let's try it out then. Ace burst into flames with a smile on the corner of his mouth. He had not yet fought against the elite Vice Admiral level powerhouse of the headquarters. Quote. Onagumo's words are not entirely correct. To be honest, the current Ace is not a big man, that is, the level of a supernova, and it is far from the level that can make the Marine headquarters go to war. The reason why Onagumo came here with several warships there is only one. That is, the previous Mariajoy incident made the world government look dull, and the existence of Fire Fist Ace, a pirate who also used flames, was too annoying for Tenryubito and the world government. I can't catch the real culprit, so I'm going to find this guy to vent. Onagumo's thoughts went up and down. What does the world government, Tenryubito, take Marine's justice for? Naturally, he couldn't say such words. Ace didn't know. He was just a disaster for Chiyu. Vlad, who was drifting away, naturally didn't know. Chapter 70 True Navigator. The sea is furious. The sea is roaring. The sea is roaring. The sea where the wind was light and cloudless on weekdays has disappeared. The violent wind is blowing, the turbulent waves are sweeping, the sky is dark, and the heavy dark clouds are like pressing on people's hearts, giving people a feeling of incomparable depression. Feel. The waves are surging on the sea, and the big waves one after another show their mighty power on the sea. The heavy rain seemed to be connected as a line, with strong potential energy hitting the deck with a crackling sound. From time to time, a thunderstorm sounded, and the bright electric light instantly illuminated a sea area, which only made people wonder if the next thunder would be. Just bang on yourself. A small boat travels through the waves, and it is not a huge hull. A cold sweat for those people on the boat. Of course, this ship could not be any other ship. Naturally, it could only be a group of fire dragon pirates who set sail in Tsubayati Archipelago not long ago, and were on their way to the capital of Seven Waters. However, it is clear that the sea route is not so calm. Within a few days, a huge storm swept the small ship. Although it was far from the terrifying waves of the New World, it was really unacceptable. Underestimated bad weather. Hey, what a hassle. Ah. Under the pouring rain, Vlad squatted on the mast, laughing loudly on his lips, and his hands did not slow down the sails. It is tantamount to looking for death. Trouble, whose fault do you think it is? There was an angry voice from the maid in the cabin. She had relaxed her training these days, and the woman's courage gradually grew, and now she dared to talk back to Vlad. Who said that there is no problem in this sea area, and who insisted on going from here? Tell me, Master Captain, who is that person? The maid's voice was full of complaints, and it seemed that she was indeed dissatisfied with Vlad's wrong decision. Yes, Mr. Captain. On the other side, Dino, who was watching the surrounding sea conditions while closing the sails, also said, "Didn't you say that you have been in the New World for many years, and you are as stable as an old dog? Why did you take us directly to the center of the storm?" Cough cough. Vlad's old face was a little bit unbearable, but he still refused to accept it. This is his insistence. What kind of captain is the captain who admits his mistake? Isn't the so-called partner the existence of taking the blame together? This doesn't mean that my judgment is wrong. It can only be said that this sea is somewhat unpredictable. It is different from the New World. I have never been to the paradise. It's normal to have some mistakes, but it doesn't matter. I've already adapted to the weather conditions in the paradise. I know everything in the palm of my hand, and there's no problem at all. I'm in the waters of the New World. The man explained that. Oh, is that so? Well, then, Mr. Captain. Dino stretched out a finger and pointed to the sea in front of him, with a warm smile on the corner of his mouth. Did you expect that thing in front of you? Huge waves, monstrous waves, and huge waves dozens of meters higher like a hill, rolling towards this small pirate ship with the terrifying momentum of destroying everything. Yeah, Tilda. Vlad made an unexplained strange sound in his mouth, and his eyes became dull for a moment. Captain, what should I do? The size of that huge wave is not something that can be easily avoided. Dino said so. I'm not a professional helmsman. If you want to rely on me to avoid such huge waves, please spare me. I don't know when the maid came out of the cab with a cigarette that had been completely wet by the rain in her mouth, and looked at the huge waves rushing in not far away, with a three-point mockery in her tone. There is no way not to ridicule, they will directly enter the center of this storm. It is all Vlad's fault. This man said that he is a hero who can run rampant in the sea of the New World. The maid and the chef still believe in this. After all, this man is quite reliable. He has nothing to say about his strength. He is indeed a master from the New World. He must be a man with two brushes. Then, under the guidance of Vlad's unexplained slogans such as, morning wind is clear, night wind and rain, and, morning sunset do not go out, evening sunset travels 1,000 miles, they successfully rushed into the center of the storm, which is really gratifying. What trash! Vlad tied the sails, jumped on the deck, and looked at the maid with contempt in his eyes, which contained the full meaning of hating iron for not becoming steel. Don't you know how to study when you know you are not good enough? You are not a qualified helmsman. Don't you know how to study hard and become a qualified helmsman? I'm so disappointed in you. Quote. The maid was silent and didn't know what to say. Let's refute it. It's very likely that she'll be beaten, but she didn't say anything and seemed very aggrieved. Mr. Captain, there is no time for nonsense now. The chef's voice came from above, the big wave has come. Forget it, I'll show you guys. Vlad stepped onto the bow and looked at the monstrous waves ahead, with a wanton curvature of the corners of his mouth. How does a real navigator overcome the huge waves on the sea? Phew. The maid stared at the dead fish with a noncommittal attitude. Ha ha. On the contrary, the chef who lightly landed on the deck looked somewhat amused. Kick. Vlad jumped, the whole person rose into the sky, the scorching temperature broke out instantly, and a huge fire dragon suddenly appeared above the sky. Oh, so all real navigators are like this. The maid put her hands around her chest and sneered. Vlad heard that, in the state of complete dragon transformation, his 5 senses have been strengthened to a terrifying state. It is not difficult to hear the maid's words. He has already made up his mind. The maid's recent exercise may be a little too light, so she will have so much nonsense. With a flick of his wings, Vlad's huge body shot out, and in the blink of an eye, he was in front of that huge wave. Oh, it's really not an easy scale to see from a close distance. Vlad said so. However, I'm blocking my way. Roar of the Fire Dragon King. The roar that penetrated the sky and the earth spread out from the dragon's mouth, and the huge sound waves it brought up caused ripples in the turbulent sea. There. A huge pillar of fire shot out from Vlad's hideous mouth. The white gold flame was completely different from the flame that Vlad used before. It was more condensed, hotter, and a little sticky. Compared with the erratic flames in the past, the flames that Vlad spit out at the moment seemed to flow, and his flames were different from before. It's not like Vlad has done nothing for so long. The development of fruit ability and physical exercise are still going on, and it is applicable everywhere in the boat against the current. Scoff. The pillar of fire broke through the huge waves in an instant, and a huge amount of water vapor rose up instantly. The high-temperature steam that could instantly steam a person gave Vlad a comfortable feeling. Hey, is this a sauna? Chapter 71 Meet Pirates and Marine. Vlad's huge head swayed gently, and the scorching fire column shifted in an instant, sweeping across the bottom of the huge wave. The huge amount of seawater could not resist the terrifying high temperature of Vlad's flame, and it evaporated instantly, and the sea blinked. There was already a thick fog in between, a thick fog with extremely high temperature. The huge waves gradually subsided, even the terrifying power of nature, even the monstrous waves, in the eyes of the strong men on the sea like Vlad, it is nothing more than that. The wave disappeared, but Vlad's action wasn't over, he still had one thing to do. Damn, it's really annoying when it rains all the time. Vlad's huge pupils showed a burst of annoyance. It was really annoying when it rained all the time. He couldn't even catch the sun or catch a fish. Vlad vigorously fluttered his wings, the wide wings brought a huge wind, and another wave was set off on the turbulent sea. The huge dragon body rose into the sky and rushed straight towards the dark clouds. Crackling. A thunder light pierced the sky and slashed directly at Vlad. Woo ha 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 ha. In the heroic laughter, Vlad's huge body was instantly wrapped in a layer of black hockey, not afraid of God's thunder and lightning power. Crack. Zzzz. The lightning struck Vlad's head directly, causing no damage to Vlad at all. It dissipated in an instant, and only tiny sparks of electricity still flickered on Vlad's body. Well, it's quite comfortable. Vlad said to himself like this, a bolt of lightning was far from enough to hurt him. Woo. Amidst the whistling wind, Vlad had already rushed directly into the dark clouds. Hey hey hey, what does the captain want to do? Baby 5 looked at the huge fire dragon and rushed into the clouds directly against the lightning, and shouted a little dazedly. Ha 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 ha. The chef understood Vlad's thoughts very well. The captain probably thinks that the dark clouds in the sky are too annoying. It should stop him from basking in the sun. What do you mean? Can only be said that Baby 5 does not understand a man's heart. Ha ha. The chef smiled, didn't speak, and there was no need to explain. Understanding naturally means understanding, and if you don't understand, you don't understand. Boom. In the thick cloud layer, the flames that have begun to gradually turn towards the white gold, the fire column that has been converging from the cloud layer is sprayed out from time to time, and the terrifying temperature will instantly evaporate a large piece of seawater. Vlad was very uncomfortable in the clouds, and the crackling lightning couldn't hurt him at all. The natural lightning was still a little bigger than the lightning of Enel on Sky Island. Yanwei martial body, unfinished. Boom. Vlad roared, his body suddenly began to glow. Just a moment later, raging flames surged out from every corner of his body, and every scale began to have a blazing flame. However, the flame at this time returned to the golden color of the past, which was completely different from the white gold flame it spewed before. Woo! The flames are like a frenzy, far more imposing than the previous huge waves, and the tides formed by the flames spread wantonly in the dark clouds. Bright colors began to flicker in the dark clouds, the flames swayed wantonly, and the dark clouds began to gradually dissipate under the scorching temperature. Oh! The maid looked surprised and looked at the dark clouds gradually dissipating. Can such a thing really be done? What a monster! The maid exclaimed. The captain's strength is astonishing. Dino, who has always been calm, turned his head and walked towards the cabin. Hey boy, where are you going? The maid was far less in awe of Dino than Vlad. I think Mr. Captain really wants to enjoy dessert time after a workout. The chef replied. Cut. The maid was a little unhappy, she was really a flattering guy. Then. Ah ha ha ha. Your captain is back. When Vlad came back with such laughter, what awaited him was a small plate of tangy and sweet cake and a cup of steaming black tea. Vlad felt more and more that what he did to save Dino was so wise. Dash 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 dash. Headed by a huge warship, several warships broke through the waves and set sail on the sea. The powerful marine soldiers meticulously patrolled the warships. Their mental outlook was completely different from the general marine of the Great Route. There are two levels at all. Level. A beautiful woman with navy blue soft curly hair stood on the bow of the boat, looking at the sea in the distance, not knowing what she was thinking. Her beautiful face had a thoughtful look. What's the matter? Ain't alone here in a daze. The man in colorful clothes walked behind the woman and asked softly. The man was dressed as a ninja, with a long knife on his back, and a pink turban on his head, looking a little funny. Nothing. The woman's name was Ain, and she was wearing a blue half-length cloak. Her long, slender and clean legs were directly exposed. She was wearing only a pair of short shorts, and she could clearly see her right leg. Has a scar. It's just a little emotional. The woman named Ain said so. Feeling. What's wrong? The man's name is Bins, and he and Ain are good partners who trained together and joined this newly formed unit. It can be said that they have a very strong relationship. Bins, you say, why are there so many pirates in the ocean? The woman's voice sounded a little erratic. Why is there so much scum on the sea? There is no doubt that this woman named Ain is a marine who hates pirates very much. She once witnessed the pirates slaughter all the partners she trained with, and then seriously injured the man she admired so much. All these women have no reason not to hate pirates. The man dressed as a ninja did not speak, and did not know how to solve the confusion of his companions. The sea is incomparably vast. Ain. A deep man's voice sounded from behind, heavy footsteps approached step by step, and the figure of a tall man gradually approached. The man looks quite old, with soft purple hair and a pair of glasses on his face, which makes him look a bit elegant. The purple suit suits him very well, and he wears a pair of glasses on his right arm. Huge robotic arm with a warm smile on his face. My disciple, just because the sea is extremely vast, all kinds of garbage scum will naturally breed. Our marine is there to clean up the garbage on the sea and protect the safety of the people. The man's name is Zephyr, the legendary man of Marine headquarters, a well-deserved hero, former Marine admiral, mentor of heroes, one of the greatest men of Marine headquarters, and now the commander of this newly formed pirate guerrilla team. Mr. Zephyr. The two quickly turned around, thinking of saying hello to their most respected teacher. Discover the pirate ship. Pirate ship found ahead. A terrifying alarm sounded, announcing that the battle was about to begin. Ha 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 ha. Zephyr laughed. Exactly, this is the first battle of our pirate guerrilla team, just in time. Not far from the fleet, a small pirate ship floated slowly on the sea, looking very leisurely. In this way, unprepared, the pirate Vlad and Marine Zephyr met. Chapter 72 Meet Up. Vlad is fishing. There are very few recreational activities on the sea. There are not many things to pass the time. Can soak in the kitchen all day to experiment with cooking and develop new applications for the fruit. It has been difficult for Vlad to improve his ability through ordinary training. Only fighting and constant fighting can make him have a qualitative leap, so he no longer needs to exercise much. As for the development of fruit ability, it is far away. And definitely, it is not easy to make the flames evolve in such a short period of time. As for the next awakening, it is even more distant. So he has nothing to do now. Has there been a superstorm like the 2 days ago, which is very calm, not even the rain? Vlad Xian's bones are itchy, only fishing to pass the time. Oops. Vlad sat in the stern, holding a fishing rod in his hand, and dangling his legs one after another. A little boring, it's so boring, how long will this boring life go on? Hey, what's in it? What's in it for me to pass the time? Vlad shouted so. Then, the one to pass the time came, and it came very quickly, and the power was not covered. Bang! The huge water column exploded next to Vlad in an instant, and the thin boat was a huge bump in an instant. Bang! 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 After a few more strokes, several water columns rose around the boat, and Vlad's reaction was too slow to realize that something was wrong. Hey, I'm just joking. Vlad stood up, jumped lightly on the mast, and looked down. His view widened a lot in an instant, and the huge marine battleship on the sea in the distance instantly entered his eyes. There's no need to be so serious, right? Vlad smiled. Mr. Captain. The chef's angry voice came from below. To be honest, this is a rare thing. After all, this chef named Dino is notoriously calm, and it is rare to see him when his emotions are violent. Go to war, I'm going to hack those bastards to death. Dino walked over to the side of the ship and saw the marine fleet approaching, with obvious anger on his face. Oh, what makes you so angry, chef? It's rare. Vlad raised his eyebrows and asked playfully. Ha 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 ha. Answered him was the schadenfreude laughter of the maid baby 5. The cannonball just now directly shattered the cake tower carefully prepared by the chef at noon. Captain, do you think he is angry? Just ask your anger. Not angry. Bang. The sturdy mast cracked open in an instant, and the cracks continued to spread. Vlad was full of smiles, even the golden pupils were full of bright smiles, and even the flames emanating from his body were like that. Clear. Ah ha ha ha. Vlad laughed loudly. I'm going to burn them. Don't even try to run away from the bastards. Vlad said so, and wanted to fly directly over to give those warships a slap in the face. Captain, wait a minute, the person on that boat, that person is. The chef's voice was a little panicked, and the telescope in his hand was shaking with VVS. No way, why does such a big man appear in the first half of the Great Route? The chef was really panicked. Bang! Bang! Several water columns rose into the sky again, and the other party's shelling continued. Calm down, cook, don't panic. Vlad's eyes turned to the large ship in the middle of the warship group. The extraordinary vision attached to the dragon fruit was activated instantly, and he could clearly see several figures standing on that ship across the sea. That's... Vlad's voice was a little excited, really excited, isn't that? Black Arm Zephyr. The chef's voice was heavy, it's Marine's former Admiral Black Arm Zephyr. Who is the Black Arm Zephyr? There is no doubt that one of the famous legends in the sea, the legendary Marine general who was able to fight the One Piece King of Pirates Whitebeard Golden Lion decades ago. The current Marine executives are basically his disciples, a worthy hero their mentors. His strength is undoubtedly strong. Although he is old, in fact, his strength is not weakened by age. The age of the monsters in the pirate world cannot shake their strength. What really weakens his strength is disease. It can be seen from the version of the strongest enemy that this man suffers from severe asthma and has reached the point where he can't fight a protracted battle at all. Although it has not reached the point where it will be a few years later, it is not easy. Vlad knew this, but the chef didn't. All he knew was that his small ship actually encountered the marine fleet led by his predecessor Marine Admiral. Is it really too much? Captain, let's evacuate, said the chef. Well, how to withdraw? Vlad smiled. Can our small ship still outrun Marine's big ship? It is not that the smaller the boat, the faster the speed. The structure of the boat is different. The number and structure of the sails are the biggest factors that affect the speed of the sea boat. It can't get up fast. Compared to Marine's warships, it has been outdated for at least an era. This. Chef hesitated for a moment, then suggested, how about you transform, Captain, and run with the boat? Are you serious? Vlad was a little surprised. What should I say about this suggestion? It's very pertinent, although it's a bit embarrassing for Vlad, but it's really reliable. Vlad's huge body after his complete dragonization can completely move a small boat. Yeah. Cowardly, but the opposite is too scary. What level is Marine Admiral? The top powerhouses in the sea, monsters who can fight against the four emperors. Ordinary pirates are dead words when they meet them, and there is no second fate. Even though Zephyr has stepped down as Marine Admiral many years ago, the strength of a person is not determined by military rank. Garp the Fist is only Vice Admiral, and it is not necessarily weaker than the current 3 Admiral. Zephyr is not Admiral, and his strength is still it's terrifying, that's for sure. Even though the maid baby 5 looked a little ugly, an enemy of this level was too strong. What nonsense are you talking about? Vlad said, if you meet Marine, you should run away. If you meet Admiral, you should run away. Isn't this the same thing as the belief that you can't compete with them when you meet the 4 emperors? Because the other party is too strong, if it is usually me no objection. After all our strength is not enough, but this time is different. Sorry, chef, this time may not be your way. Vlad said so. But, Captain, it makes no sense, said the chef. I know. Vlad's eyes were a little deep, and he seemed to be remembering something. But Zephyr is different, only he is different, chef. I want to see with my own eyes what kind of person he is. So, set sail and we'll meet you. Chapter 73 Ferdinando. Welcome. Voice was a little surprised. This group of pirates is so courageous, how dare they attack the marine fleet? With such a small ship. The man's voice sounded extremely surprised, as if he was wondering why an ant dared to charge an elephant. It's no wonder that a small pirate ship dared to charge a marine led by a marine's predecessor, Admiral. The impact of the fleet was really amazing. X-23 US. Com updates fastest. If it is the Four Emperors pirates, it is good to say, even if it is only a small ship, it is not difficult to defeat the marine fleet on its own side with the powerful fighting power of the Four Emperors and the senior cadres. After all, these people are indeed holding back Mr. Zephyr. But no, the pirate ship that rushed over had an unfamiliar pirate flag hanging on it. It was not famous at all. It seemed that it was a small pirate group that had just set out to sea. Isn't such a newborn calf not afraid of tigers? Bins, I said long ago, don't underestimate anyone on the sea, especially your opponent. The man's low voice sounded, and the man with the huge robotic arm on his right arm stood on the bow, and he there is a kind of Unuaji, immobile like a mountain. It is natural for the other party to dare to charge us. Zephyr took out a piece of paper from his arms and handed it to his disciple. This is. Bins, dressed as a ninja, was a little surprised at the pattern on the paper. Not long ago, a group of pirates set sail from the Sabayati Island archipelago and easily defeated that kid Jack. It looks like these guys are. Zephyr looked at the fangs, horns on the head, and a pair of wings on the back of the skull dragon head on the approaching ship, and said, what a daring group of pirates, how dare Marine Rear Admiral witness them sailing. Quote. But, Mr. Zephyr. The woman on the side, Ain said, but their journey is destined to end here. Yes, all pirates should not exist on the sea. Claims to be, do not kill, has an astonishing hostility at the moment. The tragic experience has gradually changed this man, let these pirates stay here. Dash 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 dash. Hey. Bang. The shells are like rain, flying towards the small ship one after another, splashing water around the hull from time to time, and those with poor psychological quality can be directly frightened. Of course, such a dense barrage naturally does not have a strange situation where a single shot can't be hit. Marine gunners are not the same as pirates' wild ways, they are all professionally trained, and their artillery skills are still very reliable. Of. Dance of Death. Brush. 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 The slender body jumped into the air, and the two slender arms had turned into two buzzing chainsaws, forming beautiful arcs, and lightly all the shells that were shot towards the ship. No leftovers are cut. Vlad always thought it was a cool thing to chop cannonballs with a knife, but unfortunately he didn't know how to use swordsmanship. There is no swordsman, so I can only have the maid come to make a cameo, which is just to test the progress of the maid's strength. Facts have proved that Vlad's training for such a long time is effective. The strength of the maid has changed dramatically compared to the beginning, and can easily cut all the flying shells without missing any omission. Of course, observation hockey is indispensable. Support, although armament is still weak, but this maid's unexpected observation hockey practice is very smooth. Ah. Vlad stood on the bow and laughed, just like that, rush over, rush over. Hey, why don't you do your best? Captain Bastard. The only one who dares to talk to Vlad like this is the maid. Now the chef is at the helm in the wheelhouse, and Vlad is standing in the head of the boat. She is the only one who has been resisting the attack from the opposite side, although the intensity is not strong. It's big, but it's also very disturbing, isn't it? She is a girl. Did the two big men go to rest instead? Ahaha. Come on, maid, this is your test. Vlad didn't look embarrassed at all, he just smiled and looked at the ship that was getting more and more excited, the purple-haired man on the ship. Dash 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 dash. Well. Zephyr on the warship realized something. He really felt a burning gaze fell on him. As a strong man who once served as admiral, Zephyr has no shortcoming, although he is famous for armament hockey. Man, but his observation hockey is also not weak. He can easily feel someone on the opposite boat watching him. Is it for the old man? The purple-haired man said so. Very good, this pirate is still a bit bold, but it's still a little too tender. The former Marine Admiral said. Well. Zephyr's eyes narrowed suddenly, and a figure on the opposite boat rose into the sky and flew directly into the sky. Anyone with ability. Alert. The opponent is attacking. Prepare for battle. Zephyr's reminder, the Marines on the warship did not panic in the slightest, and the orders were passed on one by one. The long knife was unsheathed, the musket was loaded, and the battle was about to start. He has wings behind him. He's flying over. It's the capable one. Get ready to shoot. Shoot him down. Zephyr was very satisfied with the response of his subordinates. He didn't panic at all, and he was calm in the face of the enemy. You must know that this was the first actual combat of the pirate guerrillas, and he was very satisfied. Zephyr's satisfaction does not mean that Vlad in the sky is also satisfied. His observation hockey has already been launched wantonly, and he feels that the Marines below are not angry when they want to shoot themselves down with guns. These guys are don't you think of yourself as a bird. Quiet, idiots. The huge sound exploded in the sky. Along with the huge sound, there was also a terrifying momentum. It was an extremely astonishing momentum. The invisible wave began to spread around Vlad in the sky, and in the blink of an eye. It has covered the ships below. Plop. 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 It was obvious to the naked eye that the Marines on the warship lost consciousness one by one, and fell down in an instant. Even those who didn't lose consciousness fell to the ground with confusion on their faces. Damn, conqueror. Zephyr stared at Vlad in the sky, thinking in his heart, I can't think of one amazing guy. However. Brush. Vlad only felt that as soon as his eyes darkened, a tall figure had already appeared in front of him. What have you done to my subordinates? Boy. Wrapped in the pitch-black hockey smashed hard at Vlad. Woo ha 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 ha. Vlad observation hockey launched with all his strength. He had already seen Zephyr's movements, and he was not surprised. Bang. The air wave broke apart, forming a huge wave, which brought a wave on the sea below. Vlad was knocked far away by a punch, and his wings slammed into the air, stabilizing his body, with a lingering expression on his face. I almost forgot, it's Seastone. I can't stand it without hockey. Quote. Vlad suffered a secret loss. Zephyr's robotic arm was made by Seastone. Just a momentary punch made his body soften and he almost turned back into a human form. Zephyr had nowhere to use his strength in the air, and also fell back to the warship, with a cautious expression on his face. Strength, it's really not weak. Mr. Zephyr, I've wanted to meet you a long time ago. Vlad gently landed on the warship, ignoring Ain and Binz, who were on guard, and said to themselves, long ago, it was like seeing what you looked like. Ha ha ha, laughing to death, boy, do pirates actually want to see my marine? Zephyr's tone was not polite. Of course, I wasn't born a pirate, doesn't seem right. But forget it. Vlad said, I have wanted to see you for a long time, since I was very young. Someone has been telling your story in front of me, telling me your deeds, telling me what kind of a man you are, telling me of course I'm curious about what a great man you are, isn't it? Boy. Zephyr's expression suddenly became a little dignified, looking at Vlad's face back in human form, a little surprised. What do you mean? Well, Mr. Zephyr, my name is Vlad. Vlad said. Ferdinando Vlad. So, do you understand? Ferdinando. Zephyr's expression was a little dazed for a moment. Ferdinando. Boy, are you, Snod's son? Chapter 74 Dad's Story. I'm really curious, what would a man who could make that man admire like that look like? Vlad looked at Zephyr curiously. I've been very interested in you since a long time ago, and I really want to see with my own eyes what kind of man you are. Vlad was sincere and didn't mean to lie at all. He wouldn't use such a lie to deceive others. It was too contrived and too ugly. Is that so? Zephyr muttered to himself, looking at Vlad with a complicated look. So you are Snod's child. I thought. That bastard is already dead. There is a 3-point joy in his tone, which is not obvious. After all, Vlad is a pirate, and he is still a marine. But Zephyr's eyes suddenly turned cold and his tone became cold. Boy, why are you a pirate? Snod, how did that bastard teach you? Ahaha, don't get me wrong, Mr. Zephyr, don't get me wrong. Vlad smiled, with a very happy expression on his face. That man, my father, was a marine from start to finish, don't get me wrong. Until he died to protect others, but this is the only thing, please don't make a mistake. Vlad said this, with a rare seriousness in his tone. Although I don't care about marine, and I don't really trust the so-called justice, but Mr. Zephyr, please don't doubt it, please never doubt that man, Ferdinando Snod's vision of justice. That man died as a marine when he died. Please don't question his status as a qualified marine. Such doubts are unnecessary. Vlad said so. Really? Zephyr's voice was a little low. That kid is still dead, I thought. Yeah, he's already dead. Vlad smiled. It was a smile from the heart. A long time ago, when I was very young, that man was already dead and killed. Thinking about it now, even I can barely remember my face. That's it. Zephyr was silent, and suddenly asked, how was his last days? Even if Vlad is a pirate, even if Zephyr himself is a marine, even if two people are in an irreconcilable relationship, even if the camps between the two people are very different, the two people are doomed to life and death competing, but, even so, Zephyr would love to know. Even so, Zephyr really wanted to know what the final outcome of that man, that bastard, that one's own disciple, that he regarded as his son would be. Perhaps this is the psychology of a man, a master, and a father. Zephyr thought so. How's it going? Vlad was distracted. As a pirate, wandering in front of Marine was undoubtedly an act of courting death, but now he was unavoidably distracted. Mommy, it's a very healthy boy. The loud woman's voice came, and the somewhat confused baby opened his eyes with difficulty, looking at the unfamiliar things in front of him, and a confused look appeared in the tender eyes. Let me take a look too. That's my son. Some hurried men's voices came in. The little baby didn't see the man's appearance, but felt that the voice sounded very kind, and he still didn't understand what these words meant. The child has been born, and you are useless. Fool. Woman's voice was very proud. Didn't you tell me to stay away from me? Who let him in? Sorry, mother, this man is fast. It was the voice of another person interjecting. Let me see my child. Mommy, stay away from my kids, you idiot. Bang. It was the sound of the human body being smashed into the air. Whoa, little Vlad, guess who I am? A man appeared in front of little Vlad, a dirty and sloppy man, which formed a sharp contrast with the surrounding exquisite and luxurious palaces, and of course was also different from the little boy who was carved in pink and jade. Quote. Who is it? Little Vlad asked himself. How could such a strange guy even sneak in a heavily guarded place like Wangguo? It's me, it's Dad. The sloppy man picked up the little boy and rubbed it desperately. His handsome appearance could still be vaguely seen on his dirty face. The man's face was snotty, tears and snot like breaking a bank. Gushing out like a dam. Honestly, disgusting, Vlad thought. However, I don't know why, I am very kind, and I naturally feel that this man is my closest person. At this moment, Vlad knew who this man was. He had heard this voice many years ago, and felt such warmth at that time. Asshole, I said it. Stay away from my lovely brother. Bang. The tall man rushed out from somewhere, kicked the man away, and gently caught Vlad's slender body, looking at the man who fell to the ground with cold eyes. Ah ha ha ha. The man lying on the ground didn't look depressed at all, just smiled, his eyes curved into crescents. Vlad and Dad look exactly the same when they were young. Go away, stupid. Dash 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 dash. Why are you so persistent? The little boy tilted his head and asked. In front of him was the man who was always dirty. Why are you so obsessed with me? We have only met once. Even if I'm your child, without a family connection, is it worth your hard work to see me like this? The little boy did not speak like a child at all, and his tone was very serious. Ah ha ha ha. The man sat on the ground, laughing loudly, without answering Vlad's words. What are you laughing at? Vlad was a little surprised. Nothing, just someone once told me that when I'm overwhelmed, when I'm sad, when I'm lost, laughing loudly will at least make the confusion a little less. The man is smiling. What? Vlad was a little surprised. Do people in this world have problems with their brain circuits? It's always difficult to communicate. Ah ha ha ha. The man gently rubbed Vlad's head and smiled. Vlad, because I am a father, to be honest, I am not ready to be a father, your coming is really abrupt to me. But Vlad, thank you oh. Well. Vlad raised his head in surprise. Thank you oh. The man's eyes were a little wet. I have one more family member, really, thank you. The man said so. Vlad was silent, speechless. Bastard, where did you sneak in from here? Annoyed voices came from far and near. Woo ha 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 ha, the time to get together is always short. Man stood up and laughed. Vlad, see you next time. Ah ha ha ha. The man gradually ran away. Woo ha ha. Vlad curled his lips. It's stupid. Chapter 75 ha 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 ha. Yo, my good son, did you miss Dad? Just like a piece of dog skin plaster, men always appear in front of Vlad with perseverance, with a bright smile on his face. Every time he appears like a ghost, without the slightest sign, he always frightens Vlad. Enough. If you have something to say it quickly, or else. Vlad was lying on the ground doing push-ups, without even looking at the man, otherwise, Brother Katakuri will come in and beat you hard again. Ah ha ha ha. I am so moved. I'm so moved. Vlad is caring about me. When the man said this, tears suddenly burst and flowed down. Hey, don't cry so hard. Vlad's eyes widened, and who cares about you? I don't understand, the psychology of people in this world really doesn't understand. Vlad thought so. The brain circuit is completely different from the people in the previous life. Why can you cry so much with just one sentence? Ah ha ha ha. The man opened his arms and hugged Vlad, crying and laughing really weird. Dad is so touched, really happy. Vlad actually cares about Dad so much. Hey, let me go. Vlad struggled hard, but it was useless. This man's power far surpassed that of the little boy. Let go of me, asshole, let go. Vlad's face flushed. It's okay, Vlad, you can act like a spoiled brat to Dad. The man was still immersed in his own world, completely ignoring the increasingly red face of the child in his arms. Breathe. Quote. Ah. Vlad. Dash 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 dash. Dad will tell you a story today. Looking at Vlad, who was sitting far away, looking at him with lingering fear, The man scratched his head in annoyance and said, "A story about a great marine." Marine. Vlad was a little surprised. Where is this place? Torrent of the Nations, home of the Big Mom pirates. You want to tell the story of marine? Yeah, Dad, I'm a marine. The man said strangely. Are you marine? Vlad was stunned. What does a marine mean in a pirate den all the year round? Didn't I say so? The man asked in surprise. When did you say it? Never heard of it at all. Fred exclaimed. Ahaha, that's because Dad remembered it wrong, but it's okay to know now. The man said so. It's okay to be weird, it's a big deal. Vlad complained. Haha, that's not going to work, Vlad. Man was suddenly serious. The boys who are too serious are not liked by girls. I want you to take care of it. Vlad frowned. Okay, now for Dad's story time. Man laughed. This time I'm going to talk about a marine, a hero, a true marine legend. Hero, legend. Vlad seemed to see through everything. I know, it's the marine hero, Garp the Fist, right? Vlad raised Vivi's chin, looking very proud. Beep, it's not. The man crossed his hands and shook his head in veto. How is that possible? Speaking of marine heroes, isn't that Garp the Fist? Vlad looked like you're not kidding me. Not Mr. Garp. The man's face was filled with reverence. The man's name is Zephyr, and he's Dad's teacher. Zephyr. That admiral. Vlad did not say this sentence, for fear of being beaten. Dash 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 dash. It's not good. Mom's eating disorder has committed again. Nearly terrified screams resounded through the night sky, and rumbling sounds began to echo through the palace. Well, what's wrong? Some confused Vlad sat up from the bed with a confused expression. This is. Vlad casually looked out the window and was shocked. The fire was spreading, and buildings were collapsing one by one. This was a rare sight of the apocalypse. What's the matter? Vlad murmured to himself. He really wanted to find someone to ask what happened, but unfortunately, all the capable people went to stop the runaway ant, or went to emergency preparation of sweets. No one has time to answer his question. Vlad wanted to go out and see what was going on, but what's the old saying? If you don't die, you won't die, so Vlad decided to go back to bed and sleep, or don't go out and wave. What if he is dropped by an unknown AoE in seconds? However, there is another saying that is well said. When people sit at home, the pot comes from the sky, and Vlad is getting ready to go to bed. Bang! The wall shattered violently, and a tall figure appeared outside the wall. Cake, where's my cake? The infiltrating low female voice is extremely scary at night. Mom. The name that was difficult to call out on weekdays was called out very smoothly tonight. Fear, unprecedented fear grabbed Vlad's little heart. Can't speak, can't move, don't say resistance in the face of that huge figure, in fact can't even act. What kind of fear? Bah! The saliva dripped on the ground like acid, and instantly burned a hole in the floor. The red eyes stared at the small figure in front of him. Where is my cake? Ha! The almost roaring shout made the small body fall to the ground in an instant. Tears were left on his face, and the grand ambitions of the past had gradually faded away. For the first time, Vlad discovered that he was nothing more than this, facing the life and death. The huge crisis can only be helpless crying. It is really ugly. Did you eat my cake? The huge palm waved high. Is it here? Vlad is very unwilling to end here. Your voyage hasn't even started yet. Your cake is here, so just stay away from my baby boy. Bang! The powerful kick slammed on Big Mom's body. Even with Charlotte Linlin's monster-level strength, she couldn't help staggering. What are you wearing? Vlad was stunned. Standing in front of him was a man wearing a cake puppet coat and looking stupid. Ahaha, my son, Vlad, are you all right? The man didn't turn his head, but laughed as always. Why are you here? Vlad murmured. Say something stupid, stupid son. Isn't it normal for a father to feel his son's crisis? The man said so. Where's the father? Vlad complained. Listen, Vlad. The man's voice was suddenly low, which frightened Vlad. The sea is incomparably vast, and one day you will also go out to sea. When that time comes, don't be as scared as you are today, man, don't cry easily. Vlad was a little confused. Vlad, I'm so sorry, you are so old, and my father didn't take care of you, I'm really sorry. The man walked up to Vlad and smiled. What are you talking about? Vlad yelled. Louder than his yell was Charlotte Linlin's roar, my cake. I am sorry, Vlad. The man gently pushed Vlad's body, instantly pushed Vlad to the corner, turned around and looked directly at Big Mom's huge body. Charlotte Linlin, the cake you want is here. The man jumped and jumped out of the window. Cake, quote. Not slowing at all was Charlotte Linlin's obese body. Vlad. The man's body stayed in midair, his feet were stepping on the air, looking at Vlad through a window. Remember, Dad loves you. Quote. Cake, quote. The huge body jumped up and grabbed the man's body. Kara. The sour sound diffused through the night. Ah. The man made a pained sound. Hey. Vlad's originally stiff body instantly recovered flexibility, and instantly ran to the window, staring at the man without blinking. What are you doing? What are you doing? Vlad. Dad. Is he handsome? Blood flowed from the corner of the man's mouth, but there was still a smile on his face. Handsome ass. Vlad's face burst into tears again, and the snot and tears could not be stopped at all. It was the same tears of fear as before, but it was even more fearful than before. It's so handsome there, wouldn't it be rude to stop here? Vlad roared. How can you stop right here? It's not handsome at all. Did you hear me? Was it actually rejected by my son? The man smiled reluctantly, but, there is no way, my voyage is here. Cake, quote. Vlad, live well, remember, Dad loves you. Woo ha ha. My life is a book of contentment. Chapter 76. Two people connected. Woo. Vlad breathed out slowly, with a smile on his face. Although he recalled bad past events, he still smiled, because the man said that he always smiled when he was sad or confused. Better than crying. Although Vlad is not a man of his own accord, he is still good at taking good advice. How is it? The corner of Vlad's mouth twitched and said, so, it should be happy, right? Happy. Zephyr murmured softly, a soothing feeling in his heart. Yeah, although life is not going well, but... Vlad was the only one who was absolutely certain about this place, but he must feel that his last life was a happy one. Vlad is very sure of this, there is no doubt about it, for that man, to be able to spend the last time with his beloved son, even if he died to protect his own child, even so, that man must have will you feel extremely happy. Vlad was sure of that. That's it. Zephyr muttered to himself. The past that has gradually disappeared also began to emerge, and the memory of that bastard began to gradually become clear. And the memories that had been buried deep in my heart finally emerged irresistibly. That man named Ferdinando Snod was an orphan. Zephyr was in Marineford when he first met him, and he was amazed why this kid always looked so bitter. Obviously just the teenage kid always had a murderous look. Later, I learned that the kid's family was killed by the pirates. As a descendant of Marine's fallen soldiers, the kid named Vlad was incorporated into the Marineford orphanage. He didn't communicate with others, and was always alone, a lonely look. The next meeting was several years later. After experiencing the ups and downs of life, Zephyr, who lost his family, began to transfer to Marine instructor. He wanted to nurture a hero, Snod, who was his second student. After many years, the kid from that year has become a young man, but Zephyr still recognized him from the crowd. His temperament has not changed in the slightest from many years ago. In that year, Zephyr was 43 years old and Snod was 19 years old. For the first time, two men without a family met. Snodder is always working out hard. No one knows why this guy can only sleep 4 hours a day. The rest of the time except for fast food is to work out hard. No one knows why, except Zephyr. He does. Zephyr knew very well that there was a lingering sadness in the man's heart, a strong hatred, and Zephyr could understand that he would have had similar thoughts when he faced the bodies of his family before. Snod is not a very prominent recruit, and he is incomparable to the two monsters in the previous session. He is very clear about this, but his training has not stopped, even more and more strict. Finally, one day, Zephyr punched him hard because the man had spat out a mouthful of blood in the middle of training. Zephyr clearly remembers what the man said when he sternly accused the man of exercising too much. "There's no way, Mr. Zephyr, what can I do other than work hard?" At that time, the man showed his expression in front of Zephyr for the first time. It was extremely dazed, and his eyes were completely hopeless about his life. "Apart from exercising hard to find revenge for the pirates, what else can I do?" The man said so. Zephyr felt a chill in his heart. He knew that this kid was serious. He really thought that his life was only left to avenge the pirates. So Zephyr punched the kid again, knocking him out of the way, and for a bastard like that, punches are often more effective than words. So something that surprised all the students appeared. Snod, who was not too prominent, actually became Zephyr's assistant. Note, this is not envy. The temperament of soldiers is generally not very good, and Zephyr is also the same. Snod is often beaten up by Zephyr for little things. Zephyr is not very good at expressing his feelings. He just wants this bastard to know that the so-called bond is not lost and cannot be formed, and the so-called relatives are not lost and cannot be increased. Perhaps, this is what Zephyr wants to tell himself. Time gradually passed, and as the training time was running out, the two gradually became familiar with each other. Although Snod still had a cold face, even when he was beaten, he gritted his teeth and refused to bow his head. Finally, the day before Snod graduated. Bang! Ha ha ha, boy, it's still too tender. Zephyr knocked Snod to the ground with a punch. Looking at the young man with a bruised nose and a swollen face on the ground, he felt a little emotional, and before he knew it, the time had come. "Mr. Zephyr, I'll go first if I have nothing else to do." Snod got up silently, bowed to Zephyr, and turned to leave. "Boy, you're graduating tomorrow." Zephyr sat cross-legged on the ground and suddenly said, "Is there nothing you want to say to me?" Snod's slowly leaving figure stopped abruptly, and after holding it for a long time, he finally said, "Mr. Zephyr, take care of yourself. Remember, Snod." Zephyr's voice was very low. "Remember, don't die." ... Snod turned his head in confusion. "Don't die," Zephyr said. "You have to remember that if you die, someone will still be sad for you." Zephyr's tone was calm, but his eyes were very sincere. "Huh. These two very ordinary sentences made Snod breathe quickly, and his expression no longer had the poker face he had before. The man asked blankly, "What? Teacher Zephyr, what are you talking about?" "I mean, be careful, Snod, your family is still worrying about you behind your back." Zephyr said so. "Family? Where did my family come from?" "Snod is very light, very light, very light. Idiot." A powerful punch slammed into Snod's face, directly knocking Snod out of the dojo, and fell heavily on the road. When Snod was confused, Zephyr's low voice came from inside. "Boy, I am not your family." ... A gentle word was like a sharp arrow, directly piercing Snod's heart. Uncontrollable, totally uncontrollable, the tears for no reason, no why, completely out of control, falling like rain. "What's the matter?" Snod was extremely at a loss. "Why am I crying? Bastard. Some old men have come out, his eyes are a little bright, but his mouth is smiling. The so-called man is to laugh when he wants to cry. ... Zephyr slowly opened his eyes, and the vicissitudes and nostalgia in his eyes were fleeting. Really? Zephyr looked at Vlad on the opposite side and smiled. It seems that the bastard has become a qualified father. Without a doubt. Vlad shrugged. Bang. The next moment, the two disappeared at the same time, and then there was a fierce confrontation. Vlad instantly turned into a dragon, wrapped in thick dragon scales and armament hockey. S right fist smashed Zephyr with the same force of wind and thunder. On the robotic arm that came over. But, boy, that's not the reason I'm turning a blind eye to you. Same, old man, that's not why I don't beat you. The two people connected by the same person finally started a fierce fight. Chapter 77 King to King will be. With a wanton smile on Vlad's mouth, VV's wings on his back flicked, and the whole person rose into the sky, avoiding Zephyr's heavy blow just right. Whoa! The thick deck of the warship shattered in an instant, and a huge void suddenly appeared, and the huge warship could not help but tremble under the terrifying force. Tough brat. Zephyr scolded secretly. The kid on the opposite side was not only good at armament hockey, observation hockey was also powerful, and it was not very difficult to understand his movements. However, Zephyr is also not weak. On the contrary, Zephyr's strength is far from weak after more than 4 years. It is extremely terrifying. Brush. Zephyr turned around and forcibly twisted the huge mechanical arm that had smashed the deck. If the blow was real, the whole ship would be broken in an instant. Zephyr twisted his body to remove the potential energy from the mechanical arm, and then with a ruthless force on his feet, he jumped and charged directly towards Vlad in the sky. Woo ha 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 ha. Good day, Mr. Zephyr. Vlad laughed, without any fear. His wings fluttered, like a meteor that pierced the sky and rushed towards Zephyr. Boy, don't be too arrogant. Zephyr twisted again, the heavy mechanical arm revolved around his body, and smashed directly at Vlad with a terrifying force. Woo ha ha. Vlad smiled, and the keen observation hockey had already locked onto Zephyr's movements, and slammed it out with an equally powerful punch. Boom. There was a sudden explosion in the sky. The storm swept the sea in an instant, and the two of Ainbins on the warship had a feeling of being untenable in an instant. After all, they were still too tender. That's amazing, Mr. Zephyr. Vlad was directly blown away by Zephyr's punch. Such terrifying power is no joke. Even after he became a half-dragon, he was a little hard to resist. This was the first time for him. The power has the upper hand. Should it be said that it is a monster who can be qualified for the position of admiral with the fighting technique alone. Terribly strong. Woo. After taking Vlad to move his right hand, the dragon scales on his fist were slightly broken. The stronger is his hockey. Zephyr's hockey has reached a terrifying realm, and there are probably not many people who can compare with him in the sea. With Vlad's hockey cultivation base and the firmness of dragon scales, they will be destroyed. The fist was very painful, and his dragon scales were almost shattered. What a terrifying power! Such a level of hockey is really powerful. After more than 4 years, Monkey D. Luffy can actually beat Zephyr without opening 4th gear. Vlad just wanted to say, what a joke. The theatrical version is really nonsense, Vlad asserted. With Zephyr's current level, even if Luffy was in 4th gear, he would only end up being labeled a fool. That's enough. Vlad grinned, without the slightest fear in his eyes, but only such an opponent is interesting. Ah ha ha ha. Mr. Zephyr, come again. Vlad's wings fluttered, and his tall body shot out again, and he was approaching Zephyr in an instant. Arrogant brat. Zephyr didn't show weakness at all. Moon Step, one of Rokushiki's hands, gave him a more calm feeling. His 2 legs seemed to be stepping on solid ground, allowing him to easily stay in the air. Little devil, let me teach you what humility is. His legs hard, Zephyr seemed to be equipped with thrusters, but his heavy body used a super high speed that did not match at all, and the huge mechanical arm tore the air with the whistling wind and smashed it towards Vlad. Woo ha ha. I can see it, Mr. Zephyr. Vlad laughed so loudly, his wings slammed, and the body that was rushing forward instantly stopped. In seconds, he passed Zephyr's mechanical arm. The powerful mechanical arm brought a violent wind. Vlad's short hair was blown a little close to the scalp. Ah ha ha ha. Mr. Zephyr, take it. Vlad fluttered his wings again, like a red lightning, and was close to Zephyr's body in an instant, and his right arm was already ready to go. Crack. The air made a sound of being overwhelmed. Vlad's iron fist did not show mercy because Zephyr was an old man. Showing mercy to such a powerful opponent was tantamount to courting death. Letting go of water is the equivalent of feeling like you've lived too long. It's so tender. Bang. Just when Vlad's fist was about to hit Zephyr's stomach, Zephyr's spare left hand finally came in handy, and the powerful armament hockey instantly covered it. His muscles raised high, and the equally keen observation hockey instantly locked Vlad's attack trajectory, and then slammed it out. It's so tender, boy. Zephyr growled with veins on his forehead. The two fists collided again, like a thunder explosion, and the violent momentum even affected the flow of the clouds in the sky. That's not necessarily true. PFF. Vlad twisted abruptly, and behind him, armament hockey's slender and strong tail covered the pitch black like a huge steel whip tore through the air, making a dull sound and hitting Zephyr's shoulder straight. Hey! Plop! Like a baseball being hit by a bat, Zephyr was instantly knocked away by Vlad and fell directly into the sea. Ha! It's amazing. Vlad was gasping for Vivi's breath. What a terrifying guy, but the short confrontation made him tense every minute and every second, and a relaxation would be directly killed, really. This feeling is really, people cannot stop awe. Vlad had a wild smile on his face. Ms. Zephyr. Seeing that his most respected teacher was beaten into the sea, the two people on the boat were instantly furious. Damn, go backwards. Two red light groups appeared on the hands of the woman named Ain. She looked at the man named Vlad in the sky with very cold eyes. She was a regressive fruit person, and her ability was extremely terrifying. The age of the thing touched will go back 12 years, the age of the person touched will also go back 12 years, and it may disappear after many times. This ability is also effective for things other than living things. Status 12 years ago. The only way to get rid of the backward state is to defeat the able. There is no doubt that the bug-level fruit ability, but I am not strong. Bang. Ain took a step back abruptly. There was a hollow with faint smoke on the deck under her feet. Ain turned his head, and the figure of a woman came into her eyes. The woman in the red-maid outfit, with a cigarette in her mouth, looked very arrogant. Hey, woman, it's best not to disturb the good mood of my captain. If you want to fight, then I'll play with you. Is baby 5. Ain. Seeing his friend encounter an enemy ninja, a man named Vince just wanted to go up and help. Well. Suddenly, his feet slipped, Vince jumped high, and a backflip fell to the side of the boat, looking at the man who suddenly appeared with dread. I'm sorry. The chef held 2 kitchen knives in his hands, and the turbid liquid dripped from his hands. He smiled and looked very polite. If you want to pass, you have to beat me. Dash 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 dash. Little devil. Zephyr's majestic and unharmed body broke away from the water and stepped on the air towards Vlad. Vlad pounds. Come on, Mr. Zephyr, let me take a good look at that, your power. Vlad flapped his wings at will, and easily slapped the cannonball into the air. He laughed and looked at Zephyr who was getting closer. King to king. Admiral. The fierce battle has just begun. Chapter 78 Fierce Battle. Little devil. Zephyr was agitating in his heart. This kid is very strong, really strong, completely different from his apparent age, and his strength is not limited by age at all. This kid is too strong. Both hockey and physique are perfect and strong, and there is no shortcoming at all. Although it seems to have a very powerful devil fruit, it does not rely on the power of devil fruit at all. His own physique, hockey, is the most dependent on the kid. Thing, although the other party is a pirate, Zephyr still appreciates this. For the older generation of powerhouses like Zephyr, their own strength is the real power. Roger Rayleigh Garp Zephyr also wants Writer. These powerhouses of the previous era are all pure fighting technique powerhouses. For a legend on the sea, as a man who has been galloping on the sea all the year round, being unable to swim is really unbearable for these people. What's more, with their strength, they don't need devil fruit to increase their strength. In fact, with the strength of these people, unless they are giving them a devil fruit of the same level as Junjun fruit, their strength there will not be much progress, and human beings still have their limits. Vlad didn't know Zephyr's thoughts. If he knew, he would probably be disdainful of Isho. For Vlad, power is just power no matter what form it takes. As long as it is power that can be used by himself, there is no questionable. It doesn't matter whether it's devil fruit or fighting technique or hockey or whatever, as long as it can make him stronger and let him compete with other heroes, it doesn't matter. Ah. It's so strong, so strong. Mr. Zephyr. The two men were in a fierce confrontation at high altitudes. Needless to say, Vlad, who was able to fly, was like a vigorous bird. The air battle was his home field. Zephyr also did not lose his momentum. Moonstep in his hands had a feeling of returning to the basics. It was not like stepping on the air at all, but really running on solid ground. Little devil. Zephyr's huge robotic arm swept across and smashed directly at Vlad's head. Although the other party was the son of his beloved disciple, a pirate was a pirate, and an enemy was an enemy. As a soldier, there was no need to hold back. What's more, Zephyr knows very well that the guy opposite is not a man who needs to keep his hand. He is extremely powerful. After all, he is already 70 years old. His originally strong body has broken an arm and suffered from asthma. I am afraid that I have no chance to keep my hand in the face of this man. Wow. Vlad bowed his head sharply, letting Zephyr's huge robotic arm pass directly. The dragon swings its tail. The sturdy right leg was wrapped in solid armament hockey in an instant, tore through the air and swept over Zephyr's neck with the force of wind and thunder. The hunting storm made Zephyr's soft hair tremble, but Zephyr didn't hesitate. His observation hockey was equally terrifying, even above Vlad. Vlad's attack he saw clearly. Humph! Zephyr snorted coldly, his left leg lifted sharply, and his hardened calf directly blocked Vlad's whip leg. Bang! A gust of wind suddenly rose above the sky, and the confrontation between the two men was already shocking. The two were separated at the touch of a button, and Vlad and the huge power contained in them instantly separated them. Both Vlad and Zephyr could not help but step back. After all, they were not monsters like Aunt Kaido. Their size and strength are far beyond ordinary people. Woo ha 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 ha. It's so happy. Vlad was like a madman, shouting a little crazy in his mouth, with no intention of stabilizing his body at all, and the huge and heavy wings behind him directly reversed the momentum and rushed towards Zephyr again. Crazy brat. Zephyr's face had no waves, and he calmly spit out a few words. His right leg stomped in the air at a speed that was invisible to the naked eye. It was like stepping on the ground. A ripple spread in the air. Zephyr was heavy. The body of the electric shot out, also rushed towards Vlad. Woo! Mr. Zephyr. The muscles of Vlad's right arm are raised high, and the entire right arm looks thick and thick. Even if it is wrapped in thick scales, it is easy to see the blue veins on the arm. It looks like a small snake is extremely infiltrating. Quote. Zephyr didn't say a word, but his eyes looked very serious. The heavy mechanical arm seemed to be light in his hand, and he waved back towards Vlad fiercely. Bang! Kara! Vlad's fist smashed directly on Zephyr's huge mechanical fist. Even the extremely hard mechanical arm made by Seastone actually cracked and shattered one after another, showing the terrifying power of Vlad's blow. The kid has some brute force. Zephyr's tone was sarcastic. You got it. Vlad showed 8 big white teeth, but he looked very polite. Hee hee. Zephyr's eyes narrowed, but there was a smile on the corner of his mouth, which Vlad instinctively felt was wrong. Smash bunt. Zephyr shouted. Light, a strong light appeared. Boom. A huge explosion resounded through the sky. Damn. Vlad only had time to swear like this, and was instantly swept away by a strong explosion. Dash 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 dash. On the boat below, the battle between the two groups continued. Ah tilde, what a troublesome ability. Baby 5 jumped lightly, dodging a red light group, and said angrily, the ability of the woman in front of her is as difficult as the bastard captain said, being beaten by the red light group regardless of the material, whether there is life or not, the things in it will be forced to go back 12 years, which is really a bit too buggy. If it was an old man facing this woman, it would be fine. After 12 years of retirement, his strength will be greatly enhanced. However, the maid is a 20-year-old in her prime. Huh, Baby 5 slowly exhaled a puff of smoke, with a very bad expression. Since she can't be hit, then she can't make any moves. The maid jumped lightly and avoided a ball of light again. The red light ball hit the deck directly, and the sturdy deck actually grew bark in an instant, which is really a terrifying ability. 10-finger piercing bullet. The maid stretched out her hands while still in the air, and her 10 slender fingers were already aimed at Ain on the other side. Now, let's dance, idiot. The maid's fingers instantly turned into 10 gun barrels, and there was no need to prepare at all, and the flames spewed out. The 10 gun barrels were like 10 muskets that did not need to be loaded, constantly shooting projectiles. What? Now it was Ain's turn. She really didn't expect the opponent's fruit ability to be so outstanding. Damn. Ain turned over and barely escaped the shot, but in just an instant, there were a few more holes under her feet. Hey, woman, don't stop. Baby 5 feet's tone was very contemptuous. Dance well. Bang 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 bang. This is fire suppression. Chapter 79, Platinum Fire. Do you have any extra strength to look around? The chef's voice sounded very angry. He was holding 2 kitchen knives in his hands, elbows down, and the viscous liquid continued to seep down, dripping to the ground from time to time. In the words of the chef, it was, although it is his own ability, it still feels a little disgusting. Who tilde. Damn. Panting and looked at the man on the opposite side with fearful eyes. He was very strong. He was really a strong enemy. It would appear in the first half of the Great Route. Binz expressed surprise, but thinking about the man in the sky who was fighting for life and death with Teacher Zephyr seemed nothing special. Binz clenched the knife in his hand tightly, staring at the opponent. His observation hockey was not skilled, and it was still a little difficult to capture the opponent's movements. Crowded, overgrown. Binz shouted like this, and jumped up. Just as he jumped up, a strange thing happened. A green vine instantly grew on the deck. Just like the pea vine in a fairy tale, it grows when it sees the wind, and it has grown extremely thick in just a blink of an eye. Binz landed on one of the vines. He was a prosperous fruit person who could manipulate these plants. Under his manipulation, these vines seemed to come alive. They were tentacles rather than vines. The cook swept away, and Binz himself held the knife tightly, and the vine he was standing on was behind many vines. Alas, the relationship between us is very bad, said the chef. The clear liquid gradually became cloudy in his hands, and almost in the blink of an eye, he had wrapped his kitchen knife. Oil fountain. Quote. With a sharp wave of the chef's hand, a large cloud of cloudy liquid was ejected, exuding a pungent smell. PFF'd. The liquid hit the swept vines instantly, giving them a big health care, and they were washed cleanly and without omission. Crap. Binz instantly realized what the other party was using, but it was too late. Look, I'll just say that our relationship is not good. The chef crossed 2 kitchen knives and rubbed them lightly, and a spark flew up, bringing a line of fire. There. In the blink of an eye, flames soared into the sky. Dash 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 dash. Who? Vlad gasped. His expression was not very good looking. His right hand was bleeding, even if it was wrapped in thick dragon scales, even if it was completely hardened by armament hockey. He was a little bit overwhelmed by the explosion like before. How cunning. Vlad said so. This is the wisdom of the elders. Boy. Zephyr won't give Vlad the opportunity to repair. The so-called battle is to seize every opportunity, with the first purpose of knocking down the opponent. Zephyr is undoubtedly a very qualified fighter. The huge mechanical arm pierced the sky, brought a huge wind and waves, and smashed towards Vlad. Cut. Drink. Vlad shouted loudly, twisted his body, and whipped his thick right leg directly towards the huge mechanical arm. Bang. The huge force clashed, and Vlad was directly knocked into the air. Zephyr's power was really terrifying. Little devil. Is that what you are? Before Vlad could adjust his body shape, Zephyr's attack had already arrived, and the huge mechanical claws caught Vlad directly. Hey, old man. Don't be too arrogant. Vlad's tall figure disappeared, replaced by a huge fire dragon, whose fire-red scales reflected sunlight, looking extremely beautiful. Don't look down on people too much. The huge fire dragon roared like this, and the huge left palm was like a hill, like it was swatting a fly, and it slapped Zephyr directly. Is it really mythical? There was only one thought in Zephyr's mind. Bang. The huge force impact. Zephyr has no resistance, and is directly slapped by Vlad. Hoo. The huge fire dragon only lasted for a moment before disappearing again. Vlad regained his dragonman form again, panting heavily and looking a little uncomfortable. Bang bang bang. With such a voice, Zephyr, who was swept away from the distance, stepped on the moon step and appeared in front of Vlad again. There was an obvious wound on his head, and blood kept flowing down. Vlad just now. That blow was not without effect. Why did it change back again? Zephyr was a little curious. After all, the power of Vlad's dragon form was too terrifying. I'm not stupid, with such a big body. Vlad tilted his head. Isn't it a target? Ha 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 ha. Zephyr's eyes narrowed. Then how do you know that the current situation is not stupid? Figure disappeared in an instant, and Zephyr rushed over again. Of course it's because I still have something to rely on. Vlad clenched his fists tightly, and flames gradually emerged from the scales covering the fists, and gradually began to burn, and the white gold flames burned. This trick is called. Vlad's wings fluttered, and the whole person shot out in an instant, charging towards Zephyr without showing any weakness. The iron fist of the fire dragon. What? Zephyr is a little surprised. Flame. The flames wrapped around that kid's hands were indeed flames. Sure enough, mythicals like Sengoku had their own unique abilities. Bang! White gold flames rose into the sky, and the two figures retreated at the touch of a button. What? Zephyr was already stunned. A huge fist mark was clearly visible on the sturdy mechanical arm, and there were faint signs of melting around it. What a terrible flame. Zephyr thought so. Such a terrifying high temperature, even if there is armament hockey defense, but it is probably unstoppable if it hits him directly. Flame. Zephyr's eyes narrowed. VVS. He had heard of Mariajoy, arson. Vlad was a little guilty. He didn't want to use flames at all. Just kidding, Zephyr is a genuine marine executive. Needless to say, he knew about the arson case of Mariajoy. He must know that the suspect is still at large. As soon as his own flame came out, he would definitely be suspected. But now I can't manage that much anymore. If I don't use flames, I don't have to wait for it to be killed by Zephyr. It's better to fight. Vlad comforted himself that the flame had begun to evolve compared to Mariajoy, although it was not complete, although it was only a small step, but at least the color was different. Yes. After the battle with Shadow, it was not only Vlad's observation hockey who improved, but his fruit ability also improved. The flame, which had hardly gotten stronger since getting the fruit, finally began to evolve, the most intuitive. The change is the color and temperature. The color has become white gold, and the temperature has increased by at least 50% compared with the previous one, which is really terrifying data. However, due to the incomplete evolution, the platinum fire is not something Vlad can use at will. The flame gathered by the going fire is far more physically consuming than the going fire. The same amount of flame, Vlad spends about 3 times more physical strength, which shows the horror of this flame. There was really no other way. Vlad had to bet that Zephyr wouldn't recognize his own flame. After all, if he restrained the flame's characteristic of burning everything, then his current flame would be completely incompatible with the flame shown by Mariajoy. Same. Or take a bet that you can beat Zephyr, and everything will turn if you win. Now it's just a gamble. Zephyr before you run out of energy. Otherwise, no matter whether it will be exposed or not, there is only impel down waiting for yourself. Vlad thought of this, and his eyes gradually became frenzied. Then give it a try. I won't just fall here. Chapter 80 Meteor Gun. Mr. Zephyr. The wings behind Vlad's back were heavily flapped, and his face was a fearless and wanton laughter, which instantly brought a strong storm, and everything around was swept away in an instant, and when he looked at him again, his figure had disappeared. Go ahead. Vlad threw his fist, madly threw his fist. The huge fist swept towards the enemy in front of him without mercy, without holding back, let alone any hesitation. The fist wrapped around the white gold flame was stronger than before, and the predicament that it was difficult to directly confront Zephyr before finally disappeared after using the flame. Little devil. Zephyr waved his huge robotic arm and roared, don't be too arrogant. Bang. 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 The two men were fighting, blocking everything, and fighting for their lives in a tragic battle above the sky. There was no extra thinking, no extra time to think about how to fight. Some were just attacking, constantly throwing punches, keep attacking. No matter how much you talk, it's useless, there is only fighting, and the winner between men can only be determined by fists. Zephyr's fist is very heavy, armament hockey has already cultivated to the point of perfection. Vlad is still a little too tender in front of him. Hockey's cultivation is still a lot worse. Whether it is armament or observation hockey is the same. Worthy of being a man who used to be an admiral, he has no shortcomings in his strength. But Vlad is also not strong. He is also not weak. If hockey can't match, he will rely on his body and his ability to make it together. No matter how old Zephyr is in his 70s, he can't compare to Vlad who is young and strong. Not to mention that Vlad still has a fire dragon fruit as a base, and the power and fighting ability of the dragon form are far beyond ordinary people. Ah. Powerless, 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 powerless. Mr. Zephyr, your fist. It's too insignificant. Vlad took Zephyr's punch hard, and hockey's hardened huge fist slammed directly into Vlad's face. Although he said wildly, Vlad's face was actually deformed a little by this blow. There was a roar in my mind, and it was a little blank. However, although he suffered a heavy blow, at the same time, the opportunity also came. Woo-ha-ha. Vlad's sturdy right leg was burning with white gold flames, and the pitch-black hockey covered the dragon's scales. This trick is called Dragon Fist, Big Shatter. Bang. The air let out an overwhelmed scream, and Vlad, like a pillar, ripped through the air with his right leg and hit Zephyr's stomach heavily. PFF'd. The dull sound spread, and the clothes behind Zephyr burst open, and a ripple spread. Bang. Guck. Zephyr's face turned pale for a while, and a mouthful of uncontrollable blood spurted out from his mouth, and then he was directly knocked into the air under the influence of Vlad's enormous power. Ha. Vlad, who stayed where he was powerless to pursue. His eyes were a little blank and he stopped breathing heavily. Zephyr's punch just now was not fun to look at. It was hard enough to rival Seastone, coupled with the old man's terrifying power. Heavy the bang hit Vlad's face, and Vlad can still consciously return with a heavy blow, which is the embodiment of Vlad's resistance. The power of that old man is really not covered, it is really terrifying. Vlad's mind was drowsy, like 10,000 grass and mud horses galloping in his mind, shaking his head unconsciously. It was a heavy blow. Bang! Little devil! What a beautiful job! A deep man's voice came from below, and with a bang, a man named Zephyr stepped on the air and attacked again. His face was still a little pale, there was a trace of blood on the corner of his mouth, and his stomach was flushed red. There were even some peeling skins and obvious signs of burns. It could be seen that Vlad's previous blow was not ineffective. Hey, is this old man really 70 years old? Vlad had a headache. Can't this hurt him too? But think about it, if it was really easy to defeat a former admiral-level powerhouse, Vlad would not have to be so cowardly to do things in the paradise, he would have gone to the New World to make trouble. PFF. With a low voice, the heavy mechanical arm cut through the air and smashed straight at Vlad. Zephyr's eyes were extremely serious. Obviously, Vlad had changed from a pirate kid in his heart. Become a powerful pirate who can compete with each other. Cut. The big broken. Vlad repeated his old tricks, and lifting his leg was a heavy whip leg. Boom. In the blink of an eye, the strong wind overflowed, and the roar resounded through the sky. Wow! With a scream, Vlad was directly blasted out. Zephyr showed more powerful strength than before. Vlad flapped his wings, kept his balance, and stayed in the air. He only felt that his right leg was a little numb, especially the one that was pumped directly on Zephyr's mechanical arm was almost unconscious. After all, Zephyr's mechanical arm was made by sea stone, plus Zephyr's hockey, the hardness is no joke. Vlad looked at Zephyr from a distance, only to realize that his state was not very good. After this period of high-intensity fighting, Zephyr also began to gasp violently, as if he was short of breath. Is that so? Vlad murmured to himself, isn't the condition serious at this time? Fred thought. Mr. Zephyr, it looks like your body can't hold up. Vlad laughed. Little devil, don't let your legs shake when you talk big, okay? Zephyr returns with color. Mr. Zephyr, although I like hand-to-hand combat, it's fun to use other tricks occasionally. Vlad said so. Who will make your wish come true? Zephyr is an old river and lake, and naturally he will not do stupid things like watching the opponent open up. He stepped hard, like a phantom, and rushed straight to Vlad. Sorry. Vlad's wings fluttered, turning into a red lightning bolt, and instantly distanced himself from Zephyr. It seems that I am faster. Not necessarily. Bang. The corner of Zephyr's mouth twitched, and he raised his huge robotic arm. With a dull sound, a cannonball shot out. What's the use of this? Vlad turned around slightly. Observation hockey had already noticed the trajectory of the cannonball, and easily avoided the cannonball. Woo! Vlad turned around again, and a black shadow crossed his cheek without any warning. Hey, Mr. Zephyr, you're not being honest. Vlad's voice was a little complaining. That was Seastone just now, wasn't it? Who knows? Zephyr didn't respond, just a little gloomy. Well, it doesn't matter. Vlad put his hands together. What should this trick be called? Vlad slowly pulled his hands away, and a long spear emitting a strong light appeared in his hand, and white gold flames fluttered on it. With the appearance of the spear, the air seemed to burn all at once. Vlad, who was far away, also had a hot wind blowing his face, and his hair seemed to be burning. The biggest difference between the white gold flame and the previous flame is that the platinum fire gradually took shape. Although it is not too condensed, such a thing can still be done. Vlad raised the spear in his right hand, making a javelin throwing shape, and the muscles on his right arm bulged high. Fall like a shooting star. Mr. Zephyr. This trick is called. The spear let go and turned into a meteor and blasted towards Zephyr. Meteor gun.